Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I ever got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Bev Turner. Thank you for joining us on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. President Trump promises to unleash hell on Iran.
The regime denies claims that it's negotiating with the Americans and says it has no intention of ending the war.
And they are negotiating, by the way, and they want to make a deal so badly, but they're afraid to say it because they figure they'll be killed by their own people.
Well, with global oil prices moving higher, is President Trump becoming more desperate to end the war?
Another Downing Street crisis. It's been alleged that Number 10 never tried to find the Prime Minister's former Chief of Staff, Morgan McSweeney's, stolen phone.
Could Labour lose the Welsh vote? Well, we're going to be hearing from voters in Wales ahead of the elections there to find out where their allegiances lie.
The government gives British forces the green light to board Russian tankers entering UK waters. We're speaking to the Armed Forces Minister Al Carnes at 8:30.
Now, could this be social media's tobacco moment? Because a historic ruling against Meta and Google could potentially change things for good. We'll tell you how and why later.
Immigration shake-up. New rules come into force today, including a temporary ban on visas from certain countries. We're going to be debating if this policy will move the dial on the immigration debate.
Pharmacists under attack. 1 in 5 pharmacy staff face abuse from customers, apparently. We're going to be talking to one pharmacist who's experienced it firsthand.
And in sport, well, huge night for Wales and Northern Ireland. They play their World Cup playoff semi-finals tonight. The London Marathon could become a 2-day event, and why Arsenal fans are having to wear West Ham shirts.
Good morning. It is a little bit warmer out there today, but will it get any warmer into the weekend? Well, I'll have all the details for you a little later on.
It's just gone 6 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast. What's this about the London Marathon lasting 2 days?
It would be a 2-day event if I did it.
Yeah. It would last a week if I was to partake.
Well, shall I tell you?
Yeah.
I do. It's because so many people apply. It's by far the most popular marathon in the world. So over 1 million, I think it's about 56,000 people get in. Over 1 million people have played this year.
Wow.
And every year, because when it started out, it was like, you think it was going to be a bit faddy, jogging and stuff. It's just got busier and busier and more popular. So they thought if we do it over 2 days, then obviously we get more people in. So do 2 marathons.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about it, though.
I don't know how I feel
don't know
about
whether it makes it less special.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm with you, I think, on that one. I think it dilutes it, doesn't it?
Would it be 2 consecutive days?
Yes, it'll be a Saturday and the Sunday.
You see, I have to say, that is a problem for people who live along the route.
Do you think so?
Oh, yeah.
It shuts down the whole city,
I used to live on the route, and it was on marathon day when I was trying to get back from work. I mean, I did a breakfast show, and I couldn't get back to the house till about 6 o'clock at night.
Oh.
I was literally parked in a car park for 6 hours trying to get home.
Did you think about using public transport?
Well, you can't. You couldn't get there in public transport. It wasn't that easy.
Was it not?
No. It's like people say to me now, do you get the train to work in the morning? It's like, no, there aren't any trains.
Yeah.
You can't
do
get
it.
public transport, can you? Yeah.
I don't know. I have
I'm
sympathy for you, but it's such a wonderful event, though, isn't it?
Oh, great event, but I do think it's a special event one day a year.
Look at the look in your
Well, I'll tell you what, no, look, it's a great charitable event and all that. Of course it is. Of course it is. I can never see the appeal of why you want to get out and run 26 miles.
Yeah.
It's beyond my comprehension.
Yeah, it's tough.
But I admire the people who do it.
I guess from a monetary perspective, though, you get more money, wouldn't you? For the charities.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
across 2 days.
You'd double it.
Well, you'd double it, wouldn't you? So that would be a good thing.
I think it was like 8... I think this... I don't think it was off the top of my head. I think I saw earlier. I think it was about 83 million pounds that's raised for different charities.
It's incredible, isn't it?
So, yeah. Just for you to get home just a little bit later. Think of the charities, Stephen.
I don't live in London now, so...
OK,
so I don't care.
Doesn't matter, that's absolutely
fine.
fine.
I mean, I don't actually do it for a week, for all I care. I don't know.
You're absolutely
Well, let us know what you think. Would you like to see the London Marathon across 2 days? gbnews.com/your say.
Right. President Trump has reportedly told advisers he wants a swift end to the war, vowing to unleash hell after Iran apparently rejected his peace deal.
Well, the US president has insisted that Iran is still interested in a deal. That's despite Tehran rejecting his demands to open the Strait of Hormuz.
According to the White House, the president is seeking to finish the fighting before May the 14th, when he's due to meet Xi Jinping in Beijing for delayed talks.
Well, global oil prices climbing and Britain on the brink of a fuel shortage. Is President Trump becoming increasingly desperate to end this war?
Let's talk to US political analyst Eric Ham. Morning to you, Eric. I mean, what do we actually know as fact in any of this?
Well, what we do know is that the United States is sending thousands of troops into the region. We know at least 1,000 of the 82nd Airborne are going in, along with another reportedly 5,000 troops. And we are getting reports that the United States is apparently attempting some sort of invasion, particularly on the Karg Island. In addition to that, we know that defense and intel officials have also briefed members of the House Armed Services Committee, and we know that there was massive pushback both from Republicans and Democrats. In fact, Nancy Mace, a MAGA supporter and ardent Trump supporter as well, who is running for governor in the state of South Carolina, has said that if there are actual U.S. boots on the ground, that she will not continue to support this war. Apparently, that has now become the red line for even many Republican lawmakers on Capitol Hill. So what we're seeing now is this is becoming a race against time for the president, as he's desperately trying to not only gain continued support for this war across the globe, but also maintaining support here at home.
So when President Trump vows to unleash hell, Eric, is this what he's alluding to? Is he alluding to this possible ground invasion? What other options do you think could be on the table for him if he wants to end this war and end it quickly?
Well, many thought the president was looking for an exit strategy from this war. But of course, that exit strategy did not involve actual boots on the ground. But with now so many more U.S. troops being positioned in the region, it does appear as though there is something in the offing. Many believed, in fact, that when President Donald Trump actually backed away from that 48-hour ultimatum, that he would unleash hell on many of Iran's civilian energy sites that the president was actually buying time to move many of those 5,000 troops into position. And so now it appears as though that the United States is readying for something. Many people at this point just do not know exactly what that is. However, what we're now beginning to learn is that many Republican lawmakers especially are becoming increasingly frustrated with the strategy or lack thereof by the White House, and are now saying that if in fact there are boots on the ground, that is where their support will end. And of course, this all comes, as we know, President Donald Trump is readying a $200 billion supplemental package for the war as well.
Do we know, or do we think there actually has been any sort of back-channel negotiations here? I mean, Tehran's denying it all. Who do we believe?
I think that's the $64,000 question. In fact, we know President Donald Trump held a rally recently where he said that the United States is, in fact, winning the war and that negotiations are taking place. However, the Iranians simply do not want to make that public. Now, we also are hearing that a number of Gulf nations have also reached out to Iran for talks, and Iran has made clear what they want out of any negotiations. Not a ceasefire, but they want a complete end to the war, as well as reparations for damage caused, and they want no more strikes at all whatsoever. So clearly, both sides are striking a very hard line in terms of what they want. I think right now the question is, can they actually get to a deal before we begin to see perhaps an escalation in the strikes from both sides? Either way, we're still beginning to see that oil prices are beginning to climb back up, which is something President Donald Trump certainly did not want to see happen.
Eric Ham, good to see you this morning. Thank you very much.
You bet. Thank you.
Now, at 9 minutes past 6, records have been released by the Metropolitan Police suggesting Downing Street made no effort to recover the Prime Minister's Chief of Staff's phone when it was lost. Morgan McSweeney, who's been at the centre of a number of controversies, of course.
Well, the theft has sparked political intrigue, with messages between Morgan McSweeney and the former US Ambassador Lord Mandelson reportedly lost along with the device.
Well, let's talk to former advisor to Michael Gove, Charlie Rowley. Charlie, morning.
Morning.
What are we to make of this? I mean, look, it could be perfectly innocent, I suppose, but it doesn't smell right, does it?
It could. But the plot thickens, as you say. We're now learning details that Morgan McSweeney, A, failed when he allegedly reported a theft of a phone, not to disclose who he was in terms of who he actually worked for. He was the Chief of Staff to the Prime Minister. Therefore, that device would have contained multiple documents, multiple contacts that could be a national security breach.
Yeah.
So failing to disclose that to the police is one thing. What's sad about the case, I should have mentioned at the very top, is the fact that the police haven't been able to recover the phone. But if anybody seems to have their phone stolen in London, you'll find that similar fate. That's Sadiq Khan's London for you, if I could be so bold to say that. But what is also telling is that Morgan McSweeney failed to actually get the actual street right. He said he was on, I think, Belgravia Road as opposed to Belgravia Square, so the location is different. He was phone called back. He received a phone call back from the police. He was issued a phone immediately the next day with the same telephone number. The police reportedly tried to call him back twice and he failed to answer. So I know he's a very busy man, but when you've had your phone stolen, it could contain, and would have contained, if you're the Chief of Staff to the Prime Minister, I've no doubt the Prime Minister's number at least, or the Downing Street switchboard, which could give you access to multiple cabinet ministers, people of very senior importance to the government. It's shocking. So, but also the police giving this information, sort of pushing back in a way to say, OK, we know that the phone has been reported to be stolen, but we didn't have any of this information when it was at the time. We didn't know who it was that we were actually dealing with. And, we will now have to continue to speculate what was on that phone, what potential messages could have been in relation to the appointment of Peter Mandelson as the US ambassador, because this was a process that seemed to be conducted, by the Prime Minister's own admission, by his Chief of Staff, Morgan McSweeney, and his then Director of Strategy, Matthew Doyle.
And now questions about Downing Street and how they handled this theft. So we have the issue with Morgan McSweeney not saying exactly who he is and what could have been on that phone. So Scotland Yard weren't aware of the security risks associated with it. But then it appears that Downing Street have made no attempt to find this phone either, and they would have known exactly what was on it.
I think you're absolutely right. Look, it smacks of being lazy and completely complacent. You know, the appointment itself didn't follow a due process, as the Prime Minister has told us. You know, he delegated it to basically, as I say, Matthew McSweeney and Matthew Dahl, who were friends of Peter Mandelson, so the appointment wasn't conducted in the proper way. That's complacency. And so when you think you want to try and rectify the situation, you don't follow the process and actually try and retrieve a mobile phone that could contain information that the public are now entitled to seeing. Again, nothing seems to have been done. And you just would have thought on the back of the COVID inquiry, which, you know, I know a lot of people find too costly and too bureaucratic, and I agree with that view. The one thing that did come out from the COVID inquiry, you'll remember, is text messages between advisors and ministers at the time in order to reveal the kind of culture and what was going on in Number 10, which was horrific. Now we won't even get to see the kind of culture, the kind of process, the kind of complacency, I would argue, that might have taken place during this appointment, where ultimately the Prime Minister is walking a tightrope. He's on the ropes because of an appointment that he made, a political appointment, appointing Peter Mandelson as the US ambassador when he still maintained a relationship with a convicted paedophile. That goes to the heart of this case.
Look, there's 2 points which strike me, being a bit techie and actually someone who's recently got a new phone, is that if you lose your phone, you can remotely wipe it. Okay. So, but they've not told us that, but he could have remotely wiped it. In that case, you say, well, there's no point looking for it because there's nothing on it. But by the same token, everything is backed up. So if he's therefore got a new number the next day, well, a new phone with the same number the next day, why has all that information not been downloaded from the backup so it's on the new phone?
Well, and that'll be questions for the Cabinet Office and those that work in Number 10 as to whether that information is backed up and it just isn't either A, being released, or it wasn't backed up. And to absolutely right, you've got to ask that question, why wasn't it? We don't actually know, and again, just merely speculating, actually, what kind of device that we're talking about. So was it actually Morgan McSweeney's personal phone, but was issued then a government phone afterwards? So, you know, we need to, I think, if I was a politician or advising politicians, you want to really hammer that message home, because if it's a personal phone, OK, lost, but why is somebody using a personal phone for government work when all of that should be backed up anyway and handed over? But it kind of feels that we're still in this, you know, backward-dated system whereby, you know, laws in 2026, you know, or the ways technology, I should say, in 2026 is not able to be looked at, and government isn't keeping up. You know, it's still as if we're passing paper to each other. Cabinet minutes are all written down on paper, when actually ministers and advisors are on WhatsApp all the time. All of this information, all of the way in which decisions are made are clearly out there, but aren't in the hands of government. So when it comes to inquiries, when it comes to things like this, the government and the system, the bureaucracy of the civil service is always on the back foot.
Yeah.
And another techie question. I mean, the messages between Peter Mandelson and Morgan McSweeney will still be on Peter Mandelson's phone. She'll still be able to access the conversations.
Well, you'd hope so. I mean,
unless they've been deleted.
Unless it's WhatsApp, and now you can turn on these, you know, time-limited sort of messages, WhatsApp messaging services, and so. But again, that begs the question: why ministers and advisors? Why would you do that? Everything communicated should be, you know, obviously government property when you're in government. But of course, they could argue, well, actually, those are social messages, and the crossover between a personal relationship and a professional one, they would argue might be slightly blurred, just in terms of the messaging, not suggesting any relationship there. But do you know what I mean? It's,
yeah, but if it's a personal relationship with someone you've recommended for and are then vetting for the highest diplomatic job in the land, yeah, where is the line?
Well, exactly. Well, they're mates, aren't they? You know, and that's the thing. So, but the crux of it is the public deserve a right to know how that appointment was made. How did the Prime Minister, that's told us for time after time, he was the Director of Public Prosecutions, that, you know, he wanted to get rid of the sleaze and scandal of the politics of the past under the Tories, including things like COVID, where we saw that kind of culture in Number 10, where we saw those kinds of text messages. This Prime Minister is now facing a very, very similar scandal, and the public have an absolute right to know, and I'm not entirely sure that we will ever get to the bottom of it until we can retrace that phone or get hold of those messages.
OK. Charlie, thank you.
Yeah, a lot of questions there, but as Charlie says, I doubt we'll actually get any answers. Right, it's 17 minutes past 6, and it's time for the Daily Reflection.
The GB News Daily Reflection.
Hi, I'm Richard Eamonn. I'm the Anglican Vicar of Crofton Parish. Imagine it's the year 1480 and you live on the west coast of Ireland. On a clear day, as you look out to sea, you wonder if there's anything out there beyond the horizon. Another land, perhaps, a far-off country. But how could you know? Someone would have to go there and come back and tell you about it. Well, in 1492, Christopher Columbus did exactly that. He crossed the ocean and brought back news of the Americas. We don't like thinking about death, but when we do, we often think about it in the same way as we once thought about the Atlantic. Who knows what's on the far side of that ocean we all have to cross? Is there another Columbus who's been there and come back? Well, I'm a vicar and we're in a church, so you probably know what I'm going to say next. As we get close to Easter, we're going to remember that the Easter story doesn't end on Good Friday with the death of Jesus, but on Easter Sunday with his resurrection. For Christians, Jesus is that Columbus who went into death for our sake and came back to show us that it's not the end. There is another place, a life after life, and when our time comes, he invites each of us to let him show us the way.
It's definitely something to ponder this morning, I think, as we hurtle towards Easter as well. So there's
Especially poignant.
And Holy Week next week.
Yep.
So there you go.
It's good to take a minute to reflect, isn't it? So that's your daily reflection on this Thursday morning.
Right, it's 19 minutes past 6 and Dame Sarah Mullally has been formally enthroned as the Archbishop of Canterbury, the first woman ever appointed to the role. In her first sermon, Dame Sarah acknowledged the Church's failures on safeguarding. The Prince and Princess of Wales were at the ceremony alongside the Prime Minister.
Meta and Google have been found liable for social media addiction. It's in a landmark case in America. A Los Angeles jury found the two tech giants intentionally built addictive social media platforms that harmed the mental health of a 20-year-old woman. Representatives for Meta and Google said the companies disagree with the verdict and plan to appeal.
And the Metropolitan Police has changed how it deals with public support, public displays of support for Palestine Action. Anyone who supports a group in public will once again be arrested. The Home Secretary is in the process of appealing the High Court decision to overturn the ban on the group. I'll tell you what, I know I was telling you earlier on, but watching the Archbishop of Canterbury, and the person who we saw on that picture there, who was actually giving her the job, if you like, is a guy called David Monteith, who I think is the Dean of the Dean of Canterbury Cathedral at the moment. But I've known him since I was about 16.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I've not been in touch with him for a long time. Oh, there he is, on the left. I've not seen him for a long time. But it's extraordinary to think that this is someone I used to stay at his flat in Birmingham, or his house. He lived in King's Heath when he was a curate there, and I used to go and visit every now and then. And it's just extraordinary that that's someone I used to know.
But you're proud as punch.
Well, I am very proud of him, actually, because when I was a teenager and I was doing my A-levels and all that sort of thing, he was very inspirational.
Aww.
He's very inspirational.
And look where he is now.
He wrote me a letter once. He was at theological college at the time, and I used to write, it was before email and all that, and I was struggling doing my revision, and he said to me once, a few months of hard work opens up a lifetime of opportunity.
Oh, that's good.
And that has stuck with me. So that very man there, enthroning the Archbishop of Canterbury, said that to me, and it's stuck with me my entire life.
Oh, you should message him and tell him that.
Actually, I don't know how to get hold of him.
Oh, well, hopefully he's watching.
I might get to him.
I mean, he'd be very pleased to hear that, I think.
Yeah, it's really stuck with me all these years, and he's a lovely
man, yeah.
Oh, he always was a lovely man. I mean, I'm sure he still is.
Yeah, well, he did a great job yesterday.
Yeah. No, I felt quite touched by that yesterday, seeing him.
Oh, that's lovely.
Anyway, there you go.
What a small world.
Isn't it? Isn't it just? Right, look, shall we have a look at the weather away from my meanderings? Here's Annie.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning, welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. It will feel a little bit warmer today, still pretty chilly for the time of year. Some sunshine across eastern areas, but rain is on the way across the north and west. But a bright start to the day for many of us, in fact, and it should remain fairly dry through much of the day, particularly across the eastern half of the country. Quite a brisk northerly wind, though, still affecting eastern coasts. Meanwhile, across parts of Northern Ireland and Scotland, clouds starting to thicken this afternoon. A lot of low cloud around, some rain, some gusty winds as well. And still a pretty disappointing day temperature-wise compared to average for the time of year. But as I said, warmer than yesterday at least. Now that rain continues across parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland into tonight. You can see the wind strengthening around the weather front that's moving in, so perhaps some gusty winds for a period of time to come this evening. Where skies remain clear across more eastern areas, it will be a pretty chilly evening, but across parts of Northern Ireland and parts of North Wales as well, lots of cloud moving in for the night. So it will be a milder night tonight for these areas compared to last night, in fact. Across eastern areas, it remains dry at least for the first part of the night, but the cloud does continue to thicken from the north and west. Now, once that rain clears the far northwest of Scotland, it will turn colder once again, so clearer skies pushing in a blustery start to the day across these areas, but for many of us a cloudy and damp start to Friday. Across the southeast we could see a touch of frost in any rural areas where it's a clear night. Now, as the cloud and rain continues to push southeastwards through Friday, it will turn wetter from the south and east. Meanwhile, it turns brighter across more northwestern areas, so a bit of a split picture to come on Friday, but further wintry showers will push in from the north and west, and it will turn much colder again to start the weekend. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
We found your friend, haven't we? So
yes.
We're going to drop him an email.
Drop him an email.
And it says here he's got a dog called Barney.
Yeah, there you go.
In his little bio. There you go. We'll get in touch. We'll let you know how it goes. I bet he'd be thrilled to hear from you.
I don't know. He might be. He might be. Anyway, look, more importantly, we've got to say thank you to you, but also ask you a favour, because we are thrilled that we've been nominated again for Best News Programme at the Trick Awards.
Yes, we've won this award for the past 3 years, and we couldn't have done it without you, our loyal viewers and listeners. So thank you so, so much. We'd be nothing without you. But if you think that we deserve to win again this year, all you need to do is scan the QR code on your screen now, or head to poll-trick.org.uk. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Now, 1 in 5 pharmacists have, I'm shocked by this, have been abused by customers. What is going on? We're going to hear from one pharmacist who's experienced this in a couple of minutes.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Brave.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Now, coming up to 6:30, pharmacy staff are apparently facing more abuse than ever, but from us, the customers.
Well, around 1 in 5 pharmacy staff said verbal abuse was happening on the daily.
Well, let's talk to pharmacist Torrin Govind, who joins us now. What is going on, Torrin? What sort of abuse are you getting?
Personally, I have had a situation where I had an ambulance trying to sort out a patient who'd come in. They were unwell. I was trying to deal with an ambulance, connect with the ambulance staff, make sure that they were well. And I had another patient screaming at me that they needed to be looked after and served. And that's one example of the abuse that pharmacists have been facing, that verbal abuse. But even scarier to me with this report is that 6% in the last 6 months have reported things like strangulation, pushing, punching and knife attacks. Now, I've been to a pharmacy where they have warned me and said there is knife use in this area and we have a security guard, but that is not the norm. There's no funded security. So yeah, it is a concern. We're obviously dealing with medicine shortages on a daily basis as well, but I don't think we should be feeling scared going to work, to be honest.
No, of course you shouldn't. This is completely unacceptable. You're just trying to do your job. But we're hearing and reading this morning that this is an escalating problem as well, so it's only getting worse. Why do you think people are abusing their pharmacists?
I think there's a lot of tension out there. I think people are generally more anxious and stressed out there. There's a lot going on in society. Not that that excuses people coming in and having a go at us. I think there's also concern about medicine shortages, and that can cause a lot of tension. People thinking that we are withholding medication. We're absolutely not. We're spending hours each day trying to source medication. I think it's really sad, but I think it's part of wider society and this sort of feeling that everything needs to be done immediately. I don't think people wait anymore.
It's shocking. I mean, partly because I was with a friend of mine who's a nurse yesterday, and she was telling me about the amount of abuse that there is just in the hospitals at the moment, to nurses who are obviously trying to do their best helping patients, as are pharmacists. And it just seems that these people that we're so reliant on to do their jobs, the fact that as a nation a growing percentage of us are being abusive and entitled and aggressive is just beyond the pale. I mean, I'm struggling to get my head around it.
I mean, every time I go into the pharmacy, I'm always putting that patient in front of me first. We're always trying to get people to where they need to be, not spending loads of time in the pharmacy, but we do have to carry out our checks. People think all we do is pick things off a shelf, but actually we're checking if the medication that you have is safe with other medications that you're on. We're asking you questions which you might not think are relevant, but we're actually thinking about other things like cancer or other aspects of illness that you might not have thought thought of. So we are not trying to be a hindrance, but I think it is a concern when you sort of expect it. I sort of just expect it to happen now on a daily basis. And if it doesn't happen, I'm a bit like, oh, no one was horrible to me today, which is a bit of a surprise.
And that is just so shocking to hear, isn't it? That you would expect that kind of abuse in the workplace. Torrin, what kind of support would you like to see for pharmacists nationwide to try and stop this from happening?
Well, there's no funded security, so I'd love to see that. I think a lot more support and counselling for staff who go through things like this would also be really helpful. We've got huge numbers across the NHS who are leaving any sort of healthcare role as well. So I think this is actually part of a workforce crisis issue, because if it doesn't get sorted, people will leave. And I do know people who have left because of it. They just think, I don't have to put up with this anymore.
That's understandable. Torrin, really good to see you. Thank you very much indeed. Do you know what I mean? Look, there can be more security and all that sort of thing, and maybe that's a bandage in the short term. I think we all need to take a long, hard look at ourselves. Yes. I know it's frustrating when you go to and you hand over a script, and it takes 15, 20 minutes to get it back. It is. I mean, I've been frustrated myself, but you just have to sit there and take it. It's about our attitude. No one's deliberately being slow or deliberately being awkward or anything else.
Yeah, so it's a vital job they're doing. They have to get it right, don't they? It's the medication they're dealing with. I'm really shocked at that story. I'm sure you are as well. Well, let's know what you think.
Let's all just make a little bit of an effort just to be nicer, should we, when we're dealing with people who are just doing their job.
And be a little bit patient with people.
Yeah. Oh dear.
Anyway. Do stay with us. Still to come, we're going to be talking about Wales continuing their campaign to make the World Cup this summer. Paul's got all of that next.
First, so if you're travelling to work or school, here's your traffic and travel update.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The A77 is closed both ways between Killintringan and Auchencrosh due to essential roadworks causing likely delays. On the M4 westbound, between Junction 19 and Junction 20, lane closures remain in effect after a vehicle fire, with normal conditions expected around 6:43 this morning. Regarding train services, Avanti West Coast and Cross Country are both reporting no trains running between Stafford and Wolverhampton. Passengers are advised to check schedules before travelling and to allow extra time for considering alternative routes. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, this is Jubes & Co with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here. GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Every week there are stories that shape the national conversation.
We'll be discussing that.
And on Saturday Morning Live, we break them down.
Is that true? This is fascinating, isn't it?
The politics, the headlines, the debates everyone's talking about.
And the questions that you want answered.
Do you think that was a legitimate attack for him to make?
What led you to set up this fantastic movement?
You know what? It's a great question, Olivia.
So what are you waiting for?
Your weekend starts here. Saturdays at 10 a.m. only on GB News.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Breakfast. It's 6:38. Let's cross to the Prime Minister now, who just made some comments a few moments ago in Finland.
Here, talking to our Northern European allies in a military alliance, and you're absolutely right. The focus here is very much on Russian aggression in Ukraine, and we have to accept that there's a war on two fronts. There's the Iranian conflict and the continuing Ukrainian conflict. Today I'll be talking to allies about what more we can do. Of course there'll be discussions about defence spend, also defence capability, and today I'll be making clear to them that I'm giving permission for the UK to intercept shadow fleet, Russian shadow fleet ships. These are ships that are unlawfully breaching sanctions, usually with oil. We'll be working with others on that project. On defence, obviously, I've already committed to increasing defence spend. We have commitments to go further, and we will keep those commitments.
OK. And Prime Minister, in the US yesterday, Meta and Google were found liable in a social media addiction trial. Does the court case in America point to a shift in mood both there and back in the UK, that people expect your government to regulate social media more aggressively?
I think it does, and obviously we'll study that ruling very carefully, but I'm absolutely clear that we need to go further. The status quo isn't good enough. We need to do more to protect children. That's why we're consulting about issues such as banning social media for under 16s. I'm very keen that we do more on addictive features within social media. We've already taken the powers so that when we get to the end of the consultation, we don't have to wait years to implement this. But I want to be really clear. It's not, if things are going to change. Things are going to change. The question is how much and what are we going to do, and that's what we're working on. I'll be saying some more about this tomorrow.
And just finally, critics say that the theft and botched investigation of your former Chief of Staff Morgan McSweeney's phone stinks of a cover-up. Can you understand why people are suspicious about his phone being stolen just as the Manderson scandal was unfolding?
Well, the phone was stolen. It was reported to the police. There's a transcript of the call in which Morgan McSweeney gives his name, his date of birth, the details of the phone, and the police confirm that it was reported. Unfortunately, there are thefts like this. It was stolen, it was reported at the time, and the police have acknowledged and confirmed that that is what happened. And the idea that somehow everybody could have seen that sometime in the future there'd be a request for the phone is, to my mind, a little bit far-fetched.
OK, Prime Minister, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Interesting number of topics there, isn't it? I mean, on that McSweeney line, interesting. And we're going to talk to the Armed Forces Minister, Al Carnes, about the Shadow Fleet interceptions 8:30 this morning as well.
Yeah, stay tuned for that. In the meantime, Paul Coyte's here with all the latest sports news. Morning.
Morning.
What have you got for us?
Well, I've got some World Cup business today. It's the playoff semi-finals, which is very big for Wales, for Northern Ireland, also the Republic of Ireland as well. So Wales play Bosnia-Herzegovina in Cardiff, and that's tonight. They've played 4 times in the past, and Wales have never beaten them.
Oh, tonight could be the night?
Well, I really hope so. I really hope so. So the winners will play, and if they win, they'll have the next game, which actually be in Wales, will play the winners of Italy versus Northern Ireland. So you'd kind of want Northern Ireland and Wales to get through, but it's going to be I say it's one or the other. They're not both going through, but it all depends how they do. So Northern Ireland are actually going to Italy for this game. This is not 2 legs, by the way, so this is one game, and then they will go on to the next one. Italy, I mean, amazing. Italy haven't qualified for the World Cup. The last 2 World Cups.
Really?
This is one of the greats. They never qualified in
bonkers.
2022, didn't qualify in 2018, only managed to get in maybe through the back door this time. So we'll see how that goes, and they are tonight, so that's the big games that are going on, and also the Republic of Ireland are playing away. Do we say Czechia or do we say the Czech Republic?
Czechia now.
So it is Czechia now.
It's Czechia.
OK, so Republic of Ireland away and Czechia.
And I get really confused by all of this. I don't know quite when it changed.
Yeah, it's Turkey. Czechia. And I'd like to be correct.
What?
I'd like to
What?
Yeah.
So what do you mean Turkey?
Well, Turkey now.
Yeah.
Like to be called Turkey.
Turkey, eh?
Yeah.
Do they?
Did I dream this? I don't think so. No, it is. It's
I think
true.
that's Turkey in Turkish.
I think that's what it is.
I think that's what's going on.
I think that's what it is.
Why are Arsenal fans trying to get into West Ham?
Well, this is pretty good, actually. Saturday, May the 9th, Arsenal will be playing at West Ham. So they assume, with a few games to go, that this could be the game where they win the title. So they want to go to West Ham and be there for that game. But there's only a certain amount of tickets for Arsenal fans, so they're applying. So if you're getting Arsenal fans who are actually applying to West Ham to try and get tickets. But the thing is that there's rules. You can't actually be an Arsenal fan and apply as if you're a West Ham fan, because obviously you mustn't be in that section. So what they're actually doing, West Ham have said, this is what it says. It says, as you have no previous booking history with us or have only mainly booked this particular fixture, we require evidence of you and your guest being a West Ham supporter. Therefore, could you provide photographic evidence that you're a West Ham supporter, which could be from a party, event or fixture wearing West Ham merchandise? So Arsenal fans are going to have a picture of them wearing a West Ham shirt going, come on, you Hammers, like that. I don't know how they're going to feel about that, but that's the only way they're going to get in, because West Ham say, you've got to prove to us you're a West Ham fan.
But a true Arsenal fan would not put on a West Ham shirt.
Can you imagine if
you don't have to? I shall prove it. I shall take a picture of Paul Coyte momentarily, and I shall AI
I
West
see
Ham
what you got.
top on him.
Oh,
Quite a clever way of doing it.
I'd rather you didn't do that.
No, you can do.
Because he's got a fancy AI feature on his phone.
I just wonder how Arsenal fans would feel if it was going to Spurs. And we need a picture of you in a Tottenham Hotspur shirt. They'll go, you know what, I'd rather not go.
I know a Spurs fan that won't allow any red in his house. So no red pots and pans, no red shirts,
It's
socks,
amazing.
anything, because it's an Arsenal colour.
There's
really? Yeah.
My brother-in-law, and he used to take a bus. He's an Everton fan. He came from Liverpool, and he would take the bus past Anfield, but he would turn his back as he went past. There's a lot of fans very much like this. Oh no! Is it going to go?
There you go.
Oh, there you are in your West Ham shirt. Can we zoom in?
Oh no!
You see that?
Listen.
It's a weird West Ham shirt.
Is it not?
Looks a bit vintage.
Might be a bit vintage. Well, nothing wrong with vintage.
It's a bit stripy. It looks more like Aston Villa. I'm not really sure. Oh, I've never seen the stripy West Ham. Oh, yeah, but there's the badge.
You've got the badge, that's for sure.
Listen, this goes no further. This is just between us, OK?
Yeah, keep it between us and the nation.
There you go. It's not the most flattering shot, Paul, but there you go. You
So Spurs, there we are, in a relegation fight with West Ham, and you put a picture of me in a West Ham shirt. At the end of my jobs at Spurs. Thank you so much.
Sorry, but, you know, it's not real, it's only AI.
OK, thank you.
It's all Stephen
His
Dixon's
boss
fault.
is there. Yeah, blame
Thanks,
me.
Paul.
Right, time for the Great British Giveaway now, and it's our biggest one of the year so far. Here are the details.
Everything you need to enjoy a super summer could be on us this year, as you could drive away with this very latest Benivan 4-berth camper van worth over £67,000. Courtesy of Marquis Leisure, this camper van is fully equipped with its own kitchen, bathroom, dinette and plenty of storage. Plus, you can drive it on your existing licence. And if that wasn't enough, we'll also get your summer sorted with a further £25,000 in tax-free cash that you could spend however you like. In total, this prize package is worth over £92,000. So make sure you secure your place in the draw. For another chance to win a camper van and cash, text prize to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate direct message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB20 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of May. The winner may be contacted live after all entry routes have closed. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yes, good luck. Now, do stay with us. Still to come, a landmark ruling by a jury in Los Angeles is being called social media's tobacco moment. We're going to find out more next with James Rampton and Suzanne Evans. Morning, you two.
First, though, here's a European forecast.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Are you heading away for a bit of sunshine? Well, Storm Deborah continues to bring very wet weather to parts of Italy and the Mediterranean. Meanwhile, high pressure dominates across more western areas of Europe, across the Canary Islands and Madeira too. Plenty of sunshine across Spain and southern areas of France. But here's Storm Deborah bringing hill snow as well as wet weather and windy weather across Italy and towards the Mediterranean, including Croatia, throughout the start of this weekend at least. It does turn drier into next week though. Bye-bye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain's Newsroom, weekday mornings from 9:30.
And Natalie, it's so important to learn the very basics of household management and budgeting as young as you possibly can. I mean, the very act of, making sure you've got money to pay those bills at the end of the month.
Of course it is. And I mean, I've got a 9-year-old girl and a 15-year-old girl, and I try my best to say, yeah, right, this is £12. Do you realise that would be an hour's work when you start work? You need to try and teach children the value of money. And I don't really, I spoil my children Christmas birthdays, but I'm not one to be frivolous throughout the week, just sort of buying loads of stuff. I think it's really important that they learn, mum and dad work hard. You need to earn your money and you need to be sensible with it. And I've learnt the hard way. I've had large tax bills before now that have crept up on me, and I've had to do, say, Big Brother to pay it. I've been very open about that, which is why it's really important.
You mentioned schools earlier. I know when I was at school, there was never any conversation about managing money, and I had to learn because I started work on a newspaper, living in a bedsit 2 weeks after I left school, so I learnt the hard way to manage my money. But do you think schools should be almost part of the curriculum, something to do with...
Absolutely. Absolutely it should. I'm sure that they should be having half an hour a day, mortgages, tax bills. It's so important. It's crazy that they don't do it.
Now, we'll have lots of EastEnders fans watching and listening to this programme. Natalie, they're going to ask me to ask you, is there any chance of Sonia Fowler returning to Albert Square?
Well, you never know, do you? I've been very, very fortunate. I haven't been killed off. Sonia's sort of living it up at the moment in Bali. So you never know what might happen. Never say never. It's a lovely place to work, and I've been back and forward over the years, so you never know.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain,
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Right, let's have a very quick look through the papers with Suzanne Evans and James Rampton today. Good morning, you two. Let's have a look at the Telegraph, Suzanne. There's a £400 million cost of savings scandal, apparently.
This is really shocking. I have to say, it's a catalogue of disasters, really, for NS&I, National Savings and Investments. We know that they're purely a savings bank, fully backed by the Treasury.
Oh, it's your premium bonds.
They also run your premium bonds. Yeah, absolutely right. And basically, during COVID times, they were offering very high rates of interest to savers, so lots of people signed up with them. Then they reduced the interest rate to 0.01%, so they had a load of withdrawals, and people couldn't get their money out. And some people were bereaved. They couldn't get the money of their loved ones out. And to cut a long story short, there are now, we reckon, 37,000 people who are owed, or it's going to cost to recompense them, around £400 million. And, of course, that's coming out of government funding, so it's taxpayers' money. It's just been an absolute disaster from start to finish. The boss, a man called Dax Harkins, who earns £550,000 a year, is really in the firing line here because he's been trying to modernise the bank as well and make it more digital and more tech-friendly. The bill for that was supposed to be 1.3 million. It's gone up to, 1.36 billion. It's gone up to 3 billion. So, yeah, like I said, this is a catalogue of disasters from start to finish, the upshot of which you've got all those people owed an average of £11,000 each, including bereaved families who NS&I has been so bad dealing with their cases, they've had to get lawyers in to get the money out. It's shocking.
James, what do you make of it?
Well, I absolutely agree with Suzanne. It is a total scandal, particularly the fact that bereaved families have had to reach for the lawyers. You're already going through the worst time of your life, and then the savings that you thought your family had are unobtainable. It's an absolute scandal. Also, the Treasury will probably have to fork out this £400 million at a time when inflation is already due to rise because of the extreme costs of the war in Iran. So we are facing an absolute tsunami of different elements here, which will cause huge damage to the economy through just incompetence.
All right, talking of the war in Iran, James, in the Times this morning, we've got President Trump going in the last few days saying there's a peace plan. Looks like it could provide everything you need, to now saying he's going to unleash hell on the regime.
He said there was a peace plan which Iran had never heard of. He also said it half an hour before the markets open. Somebody said the other day, the war only seems to take place at weekends when the markets are closed, because, above all, Trump is obsessed with money, and if the war appears to affect the Dow Jones, he's terrified, as we all are, by this cataclysmic effect on the global economy. But he's like a spoilt brat. He's saying, I wanted it to be easy, I wanted it to be like Venezuela, and when, guess what, Iran proved far more resilient than he was hoping, he's now furious. He's throwing the toys out of the pram. He's quoting Gladiator saying, unleash hell, this ridiculous macho language that he and Pete Hegseth have, and you just think he's floundering.
Is he floundering, or is he playing chess? Because there's another school of thought that actually he's just biding his time here before the Marines and the paratroopers land tomorrow.
I think I'm going to be slightly more generous to Trump than James. I think the first rule of war is you don't tell your enemy what you're doing. And when I heard him say there was a peace plan, I thought, Iran's not going to go for that. It's so obvious they're not going to go for that. It's not right. And I think he's trying to make Iran look even worse than it already is by saying, look, I'm offering peace. Yeah. And then, of course, they immediately turn around very hard line, because they are. They're complete fundamentalist evangelical Muslims who will not let go. And so I do wonder if it's a kind of, he's playing a bit of bluff and double bluff here as well. And now perhaps he's got the authorisation to do what he wanted to do, which was to go in really hard. But we shall see. Who knows?
Yeah, but the thing is, how has he ended up better than before the war? The Strait of Hormuz is now closed. The world economy is really disastrously affected. Yeah. And perhaps Iran will have total control of the Strait as part of the peace deal, which is far worse than it was before. So what has he actually accomplished?
Well, I think I agree. That remains to be seen. At the moment, he seems to have accomplished very little. The Iranian regime is still there. They are still murdering protesters, executing people in their tens of thousands. It's all a
and
mess.
they're rallying against a common enemy. It's a theocracy that is devoted to martyrdom, and he's given it on them on a plate.
OK, James, Suzanne, thank you very much indeed. We'll be back with all the top stories after this short break.
Thank you for making us Britain's #1 news channel. Together, we have built something truly extraordinary.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. On the M5 southbound between Junction 1 and Junction 2, an overturned vehicle is blocking 2 of 3 lanes, with delays expected until 7:39 this morning. On the A1M southbound entry slip at Junction 41 near Wakefield, all lanes are closed after a crash, with improvements around 9:41 this morning. In Milton Keynes, the M1 northbound between Junction 13 and Junction 14 has a collision with 2 of 4 lanes shut, clearing by about 9:56 this morning. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast and cross-country buses replace trains between Stafford and Wolverhampton. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
It's a prize package worth over £92,000. There's a totally tax-free £25,000 in cash that you'll be able to spend on anything you like this year. Plus, you'll also get to drive away in a brand new Benevan 122 camper van. Courtesy of Marquis Leisure, this latest 2026 model comes fully loaded with everything you'd expect. For another chance to win a camper van and cash, text prize to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB20 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of May. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
the late edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
Because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's tonight, late edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, late edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. President Trump promises to unleash hell on Iran.
The regime denies claims that it's negotiating with the Americans and says it has no intention of ending the war.
And they are negotiating, by the way, and they want to make a deal so badly, but they're afraid to say it because they figure they'll be killed by their own people.
With global oil prices moving higher, is President Trump becoming more desperate to end the war?
Breaking news this morning, the Prime Minister responds to allegations that Number 10 never tried to find the Prime Minister's former Chief of Staff, Morgan McSweeney's, stolen phone.
The government gives British forces the green light to board Russian tankers entering UK waters.
Giving permission for the UK to intercept Shadow Fleet, Russian Shadow Fleet ships. These are ships that are unlawfully breaching sanctions, usually with oil. We'll be working with others on that project.
Well, we're going to be speaking to the Armed Forces Minister Al Carnes at 8:30 this morning.
Also for you today, could this be social media's tobacco moment? Because a historic ruling against Meta and Google could change the way we look at social media forever. We'll give you all the details.
Could Labour lose the Welsh vote? We're going to be hearing from voters in Wales ahead of the local elections.
New rules come into force today, including a temporary ban on visas from certain countries. We're going to be debating whether this will move the dial on the immigration debate.
Is the National Trust undermining British values? We're going to be debating that. It's after the charity came under fire for their new mission statement.
And in sport, well, it's a huge night for Wales and Northern Ireland as they play their World Cup playoff semi-finals tonight. The London Marathon could become a two-day event, and Keely Hodgkinson trolls West Ham.
Ooh. Good morning. It is a little bit warmer out there today, but will it get any warmer into the weekend? Well, I'll have all the details for you a little later on.
It's just gone 7 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Let's kick straight off with politics, though, and joining us right now is the Liberal Democrats' health spokesperson, Helen Morgan. Good morning to you. I know there's lots to talk to you about, including midwifery. But before we get into that, can I ask you about what the Lib Dems' take is on the current situation regarding Iran? The supposed peace deal on the table, that seems to have fallen through. President Trump now saying he'll unleash hell on Tehran. What do the Lib Dems think we should do in this scenario? I know you don't like Trump. However, do we advise that we let go, that we just let the regime reform and retake power and continue to slaughter their own people? Or is it time now to sort of try and create some sort of change for the people of Iran and the whole Middle East region?
Well, obviously, we're no fans of the Iranian regime. We've repeatedly called for the proscription of the Revolutionary Guard there. But ultimately, this war is illegal. There was no sort of immediate provocation for Donald Trump to attack Iran. And we're really worried about the impact that this is going to have in the UK on people who are already really struggling with the cost of living. I think a lot of people are extremely worried about what soaring oil prices are going to mean for them as we get later on into the year when energy prices go up. And of course, they're already seeing it at the petrol pumps and expecting it to feed through into all sorts of other types of inflation, particularly food. So we really want to see this come to an end. We're no fans of the Iranian regime, but we have to think of the worldwide consequences of this conflict.
Also hearing from a former boss at BP, claiming yesterday that Britain could be hit by oil and gas shortages within 3 weeks. He's predicting that there is a crisis coming within the next 2 to 3 weeks. He thinks we'll be seeing physical shortages. If that is the case, how do you suggest, how the Lib Dems suggest that the government should be preparing?
Well, I'm sure the government have had Cobra meetings, and if they haven't, they should be to prepare for contingency plans for this type of emergency. But that's why it's so important, actually, that we put pressure on Donald Trump to bring this to an end, because, for people in rural areas where I live, not being able to access fuel is a disaster. There's no public transport. You're dependent on your car, and that's true across great swathes of Britain. So I think we're really, really concerned. We want to see, obviously, contingency planning in place, but most importantly, pressure on Donald Trump to bring this to an end.
Yes, but if we bring this to an end by simply walking away with the Iranian regime intact, basically, we're going to see reprisals, aren't we? Even if it is just in terms of oil, gas, economic reprisals, which would last potentially a lot longer than if, he did what he said he's going to do and finish this off.
Well, he doesn't have any signs of finishing it off, no signs of a strategy, no signs of what finishing it off looks like. They killed the Ayatollah and another number of senior other Iranian officials, but don't seem to have any kind of exit strategy or clearly stated objectives. I think Donald Trump has rushed into this without thinking through the consequences, and those consequences are severe for people here in the UK and across the rest of the world, and he needs to find a negotiated way out of it. Now, as I say, we're no big fans of the Iranian regime, but it would have been a much better approach to negotiate with them to reduce their nuclear capability and ultimately to hope that change from in Iran came from within and not from external bombs. I think that seems to be a really problematic process.
A new survey has found that 1 in 5 pharmacists are facing daily abuse. We're hearing that this is an escalating problem. Reports of racism, verbal attacks and violence, also knife welding. We're hearing from a pharmacist on this programme this morning. This is shocking. How can this be fixed?
Absolutely shocking. You know, our pharmacists are often some of the most important people in our community because so many people are dependent on them for daily medicines and health and advice and support. Absolutely shocking to hear those stories. We've seen an escalation in racism and division in this country, and I think politicians have a responsibility to try and tone that down, cool that down, and give a clear indication that that kind of activity isn't acceptable in our society. And also, we know that on the high street, people do feel a little bit less safe than they used to. We want to see more bobbies on the beat, is the classic expression, but we want to see more community policing so that people don't feel empowered to behave in that way on the high street, you know, targeting people who are really important in our community and who we should value.
I know that you are outlining plans today, should you be in power, to put a specialist doctor on every maternity ward in this country 24/7 and saying every woman in labour would have a dedicated midwife to provide one-on-one care. I can't imagine anyone disagreeing with that, frankly, but it's going to cost, by your own reckoning, £600 million. So my question would be, where does the money come from? And B, even if you could enact this tomorrow, how quickly would it come on stream?
Obviously, excuse me, it would take a few years to be fully on stream. You can't retain and recruit those kinds of numbers of people overnight. So it's a 6 to 8 year plan. It does cost £600 million, but when we think about the fact that the bill for medical negligence for maternity alone last year was £1.3 billion, we think that this would begin to pay for itself very, very quickly. You know, the maternity scandal is absolutely shameful for our society. Where I live, the initial scandal was Shrewsbury and Telford Hospital Trust, where Donna Ockenden found that more than 200 babies had died. And we were all horrified by that. But it turns out that that wasn't isolated. That was a widespread problem across a number of different trusts in this country. Review after review has pointed safe staffing as being one of the major problems in unsafe maternity care. More than half of maternity units aren't considered to be safe. And so it's critical that we tackle this problem with a realistic plan to make sure that women have what should be a joyous and exciting experience when they have their baby, and not a harrowing one, but also to save the taxpayer from this huge medical negligence bill, which is frankly outrageous.
OK, Helen Morgan, we have to leave it there, but really good to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Now, at 9 minutes past 7, let's talk to former Special Advisor to Michael Gove, Charlie Rowley. Very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Can we talk about Morgan McSweeney and this stolen phone? Now the focus appears to be on number 10, and allegations on the front pages this morning that number 10 haven't ever tried to find this stolen phone.
Yes, well, it's just another development in the curious case of Morgan McSweeney's mobile, where he reported it stolen, but didn't disclose that he was the Chief of Staff to the Prime Minister of the country, so therefore didn't disclose, as has been reported, obviously the sensitivity of the information and contacts and documents that might be on that phone, which might have sparked the Metropolitan Police. And there's no blame on the police because they're dealing with thousands of mobile phones that are stolen in London on a day-to-day basis. But it might have prompted them to look either deeper or to deploy more resources to retrieving such sensitive information. That wasn't forthcoming, and it appears from the story that number 10 simply just reissued a new phone to Morgan McSweeney the next day with the same telephone number, which enabled the police to contact him again, Mr McSweeney, the next day. But of course, as the reports, or as it's been reported, I should say, Morgan McSweeney didn't take those calls from the police. So you report a phone missing, the police get back in touch with you, you don't take that call, then time seems to lapse and move on, and the phone hasn't been investigated, it's not been retrieved.
But the idea of it being a conspiracy theory, to paraphrase the Prime Minister this morning, he sort of says it's outlandish, really. You see, a stone was stolen, a phone was stolen. It's not unusual. It was reported to the police. They've got that phone call, and procedures were followed.
And that is, my friends, the former Director of Public Prosecutions. Report your phone stolen, report any thefts that you'd like, but don't worry, if you don't get it back, well, it's your fault. It's conspiracy. You haven't done whose side is he on? It's his government that he's come in to lead, to say that he was going to be better than the past prime ministers of the Tory party days, you know, where there was political scandal, where we had this whole exchange of text messages between advisors and senior civil servants during the COVID pandemic, and that was came out during the inquiry. Disgusting messages, and rightly so. And the Prime Minister, this Prime Minister, when he was leader of the opposition, absolutely took the Prime Minister, Boris Johnson at the time, to task for those messages. Now, all of a sudden, he's in the hot seat. He's appointed somebody, he's made a political appointment, Peter Mandelson, who is known to have a relationship with a convicted paedophile. But as soon as information that the public are entitled to receiving has been lost through the stealing of this mobile phone, oh, well, you know, it's nothing to see here. We've done everything we can. You know, the conspiracy, you be part of this far-right crack pottery that the Prime Minister keeps telling us that we're all about. You know, I say to the Prime Minister and everybody, you need to get on top of this. You know, it's not going away. And he has apologised for the mistake, but he's got to be seen to do more than just, you know, offer those words. And the Prime Minister should be saying, I'm going to make sure that any information that was backed up through those messages will be available to the public. It will be available to the committee that's looking into it. And that's the only way the Prime Minister can move the story on.
Just briefly, Charlie, on that, what did you make of the Health Secretary's intervention yesterday, talking about this, insisting that it's cock-up rather than conspiracy, but admitting that this looks bad for Labour?
Yeah, and look, you know, the Health Secretary is known to sort of freelance. I think he's got a bit of a rocky relationship with Number 10 because of briefings and counter-briefings that take place. He's also often seen as a leadership front-runner to the Prime Minister. But is Wes Streeting the right one to try and dismiss it as a conspiracy when we know that Wes Streeting had a personal relationship, a friendship with Peter Mandelson, and that's why...
But he's released all his messages.
He released his messages, which, funny enough, the Cabinet Office suggested to others don't do that because there's still an investigation taking place, a police investigation was taking place at the time with Peter Mandelson. I think it still is. So the Cabinet Office advised others not to do that. But you're right, you know, when this Prime Minister, again, unless he gets on top of it, is always facing challenge, whether it's from Angela Rayner, whether it's from Andy Burnham still wanting to come back. Wes Streeting is always named in that lineup of challengers. But we know that Wes Streeting did have a friendship with Peter Mandelson, and therefore that has sort of discounted him in the rankings. So I'm not quite sure, even though Wes Streeting might want to get on the front foot to say and defend Number 10, this is a conspiracy, I'm not quite sure he's the right man to carry that message.
All right, Charlie, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. Now, let's return to our top story, shall we? President Trump vowing to unleash hell after Iran rejected his peace deal. Let's get the thoughts of former Defence Select Committee Chairman Tobias Ellwood, who joins us now. Very good morning to you, Tobias. Thank you for joining us on the programme. What is the truth here? President Trump and Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary yesterday, insisting that talks are going on, but Iran denying anything like that. What is actually going on here?
Well, good morning. Listening to Trump and his press secretary, the rhetoric coming from the White House does look like they are commentating on a completely different war than the rest of us are observing. This self-congratulation on what's been achieved, claims that Iran is now capitulating, ready to agree terms, ready for talks. It doesn't resonate with what is happening on the ground and what the rest of us are witnessing. And it's increasingly clear, I think, that America and Israel are not exactly on the same page in terms of objectives on how long this war will last, on what is wanting to be achieved. And Trump completely underestimated Iran's ability to weather the scale of lethality that's rained down from above, as well as Iran's willingness to draw other nations deliberately into the war, not just in the Gulf, but Azerbaijan, Jordan, Iraq and Syria and so forth. So every day Iran demonstrates its ability to fire drones and missiles across the Middle East and continues, I'm afraid, to call the shots in the Straits of Hormuz. We're now in week 4 and Trump is clearly not in control of events anymore. And I think he's now looking for an off-ramp, a way out. But the idea that anything constructive might emerge from those talks in Pakistan, when Iran, I think, is feeling emboldened, I think is wishful thinking indeed.
So what should our take be in this country, do you think, then, as we're sort of, well, involved but not involved in all of this? I mean, the Lib Dems this morning telling us, you know, that they just want Trump to stop it, basically. I mean, Look, you can see the appeal of that. You can understand why people would take that viewpoint, but where does this leave us then with, as you say, possibly an emboldened regime in Tehran, and who knows what they would try to do next?
So, for me, this is not about the principle of standing up to an oppressive regime that's got pursuing nuclear weapons, supporting proxy terrorist groups and so forth. It's about an ill-thought-out strategy. And we might be uncomfortable in the way that this war started for different reasons. But because we are where we are today, my concern is that we are going to capitulate. We're going to give up. We want to stop. We want to de-escalate, allowing the regime to remain intact, its ideology there, and its desire to procure a nuclear weapon still very much in the forefront of their objectives. So after 4 or 5 decades, the regime continues on. Never have we had a better opportunity to advance a new chapter for Iran, and not enough thought has been given. Statecraft has been injected into the thinking as to what do we do with this opportunity now that Iran clearly is on the back foot, but is able to survive because the tactics might be there, but there's an absence of strategy. So I'm afraid I do differ from others that say, let's simply escalate and hope that things will click back to normal, because they will not, for various reasons. But more importantly, the Iranian people have been promised something different. And it requires, I think, greater thought, leadership, a greater collaboration between allies to say, what can we actually do to make sure that this regime does crumble and a new Iran can emerge from the ashes?
And Tobias, what are we to make of thousands of US paratroopers and Marines being deployed? We're expecting them to land tomorrow. Is this a possible ground invasion that we're looking at here, or the occupation of Karg Island, perhaps?
Yeah, you mentioned exactly it. Karg Island is critical for the Iranians. It's their major export terminal for oil. But to think back in Iraq 2003, the hundreds of thousands of troops that were required, Britain alone, they contributed 45,000. The idea that 5,000 US Marines, well-trained though they might be, could somehow, well, they would easily be able to take the island, but to keep it, they would be very vulnerable indeed. So they are moving there. I'm concerned what Donald Trump is planning or how he's planning to use them. And the sensitivity in America of body bags piling up, I think would actually, again, impact on Trump's thinking as well. So it does look like, without a strategy, without clarity of an objective, Donald Trump may be pursuing more military, more tactical operations, unclear where he himself even thinks this is going.
OK. Tobias Elwood, it's always good to get your perspective. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, it was freezing yesterday, wasn't it?
It was freezing this morning.
It was,
I had ice on the car this morning.
Yeah, so did I, and very windy as well.
Did you have hailstones yesterday?
No.
Oh, we had
avoid that.
We had hailstones. I mean, what's going on?
But it was so windy. I mean, even the Prince and Princess of Wales in Canterbury, I mean, she almost lost her hat in the wind.
But she did it with style.
She did. She always does. Anyway, let's get a look at the pictures today with Annie Shuttleworth.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning, welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. It will feel a little bit warmer today, still pretty chilly for the time of year. Some sunshine across eastern areas, but rain is on the way across the north and west. But a bright start to the day for many of us, in fact, and it should remain fairly dry through much of the day, particularly across the eastern half of the country. Quite a brisk northerly wind, though, still affecting eastern coasts. Meanwhile, across parts of Northern Ireland and Scotland, clouds starting to thicken this afternoon. A lot of low cloud around, some rain, some gusty winds as well, and still a pretty disappointing day temperature-wise compared to average for the time of year, but as I said, warmer than yesterday at least. Now that rain continues across parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland into tonight. You can see the wind strengthening around the weather front that's moving in, so perhaps some gusty winds for a period of time to come this evening. Where skies remain clear across more eastern areas, it will be a pretty chilly evening, but across parts of Northern Ireland and parts of North Wales as well, lots of cloud moving in for the night. So it will be a milder night tonight for these areas compared to last night, in fact. Across eastern areas, it remains dry, at least through the first part of the night, but the cloud does continue to thicken from the north and west. Now, once that rain clears the far northwest of Scotland, it will turn colder once again, so clearer skies pushing in a blustery start to the day across these areas, but for many of us, a cloudy and damp start to Friday. Across the southeast, we could see a touch of frost in any rural areas where it's a clear night. Now, as the cloud and rain continues to push southeastwards through Friday, it will turn wetter from the south and east. Meanwhile, it turns brighter across more northwestern areas, so a bit of a split picture to come on Friday, but further wintry showers will push in from the north and west, and it will turn much colder again to start the weekend. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's 7:22 and the House of Lords has backed a social media ban for under-16s, passing an amendment to the government's schools bill. It's gone through 261 votes to 150. Now, that would give ministers a year to decide which platforms to block and then force strict age checks, but some charities are voicing concerns.
Dame Sarah Mullally has been formally enthroned as the Archbishop of Canterbury, the first woman ever appointed to the role. In her first sermon, Dame Sarah acknowledged the Church's failures on safeguarding. The Prince and Princess of Wales attended the ceremony alongside the Prime Minister.
And Meta and Google have been found liable for social media addiction in a landmark case in America. A Los Angeles jury found the two tech giants intentionally built addictive social media platforms that harmed the mental health of a 20-year-old woman. Representatives for the two companies said they disagree with the verdict and will appeal.
Now, we are thrilled to announce that GB News Breakfast has once again been nominated for Best News Programme at the Trick Awards.
Yeah, we've won the last 3 years, which has been frankly amazing. We can't do any of it without you, of course. But if you think we should win again, it is up to you. You'd have to vote for us. And if you would like to do so, you can scan the QR code on your screen right now. If you're listening on the radio, the address you need to go to is poll-trick.org.uk, and thank you for your continued support.
Now at 24 minutes past 7. Do stay with us still to come. The Armed Forces Minister Al Carnes is joining us at 8:30 this morning.
We'll be asking him why he's claimed thousands of pounds of expenses for videos like this.
If you beat me, okay, I will give you 50 quid for your watch right now for a drinks, for Christmas drinks. We're going to go max out 2.
But next, should we ban immigrants from certain countries? We're debating that as the Home Secretary's new immigration policy is coming to force today. This is GB News Breakfast.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it? Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray, are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline.
Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Every week, there are stories that shape the national conversation.
Well, to be discussing that.
And on Saturday Morning Live, we break them down.
Is that true? This is fascinating, isn't it?
The politics, the headlines, the debates everyone's talking about.
And the questions that you want answered.
Do you think that was a legitimate attack for him to make?
What led you to set up this fantastic movement?
You know what? It's a great question, Olivia.
So what are you waiting for?
Your weekend starts here. Saturdays at 10 a.m. only on GB News.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, this Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
7:28 now. New immigration rules take effect today, including an emergency break on visas from Afghanistan, Cameroon, Myanmar and Sudan after asylum applications from these countries rose 470% in 4 years.
Well, with this surge in mind, we're asking this morning, should the UK ban immigrants from certain countries?
Let's talk to former Labour MP Bill Rammell and Labour member and activist Aisha Ali Khan. Bill, what do you think? I mean, some people will see it as a bit of an extreme move.
I think it's a justified move. I mean, look, the government is making progress on getting a grip on asylum and the asylum system with, for example, deportations of failed asylum seekers up by 28%. But we've got 101,000 asylum cases, almost a historic high. And what the government is doing, I think, is rightly saying that the people who come here to study or come here to work and then go on to make an asylum claim, and the numbers of those people doing that have risen by 500% over 4 years. We need to take action, and therefore, rightly, they're bringing in a ban today on those 4 countries, keeping other countries under review. And put that alongside the fact that the government is proposing to ban appeals in country from failed asylum seekers. I think that can get us to the position where we've got a fair but robust immigration system and we tackle what is a very, very high number of asylum claims.
Aisha, let's bring you in at this point. Do you think we should have visa bans from certain countries?
Morning. I feel that even though this measure is touted as a temporary measure to get on top of the backlog and the excessive numbers, I feel that this could turn into a long time or permanent move. And I think that would be incredibly unfair for people who are genuinely wanting to come to the UK to study and for work purposes and are happy to then go back. I feel that once we start with these 4 countries, where does it stop? Then do we add more countries to the list? I feel that by doing this, I understand Shabana Mahmood is under so much pressure. Obviously, the mess we've inherited from the Conservative Party, and then obviously the last 1.5 years or so, it's just been relentless. Obviously, people coming via the boats and other methods into the country. The borders is just not secure enough.
But you acknowledge, do you, Aisha, that something needs to be done?
Oh, absolutely. And I've always said, Stephen, that we need to have a much more robust system in place, a system where people feel confident that when they apply, there'll be a chance that their application for visa entry into the UK will be considered. And I've said this all along, the money that could be generated by such a method, I mean, there's so many positives. First of all, the fees that would be paid, we would obviously keep regardless of the outcome. We'd be able to assess who is trying to enter the country, whether they've got a criminal record, what they're hoping to do, what they're hoping to bring to the UK. There are so many positives in allowing this increasing more methods, more visas to enter the country. Right now, the only people winning from all of this are the people smugglers, the people who operate all those dangerous dinghies and dangerous boats that are, enticing people, charging them a lot of money to enter the UK legally. I think if we had a better system, it'd be more fair as well, to be honest. That's the main thing. But it'd be better for us as well. It'd be safer. We'd be able to sift through the applications. If there's a criminal, if there's somebody who's escaping a past, we'd be able to stop them.
OK, Aisha, Bill, we're out of time with you this morning, I'm afraid, but thank you so much for joining us.
It's an interesting one. I mean, look, something's clearly got to be done.
Well, I think we can all agree on that,
Yeah.
can't we? Whether this is the right way. Let us know what you think. gbnews.com/you'll say.
Right, time for the Great British Giveaway now. It's a whopping prize worth more than £92,000.
Yes, a camper van and 25 grand in tax-free cash. Here are all of the details that you need.
It's a prize package worth over £92,000 and it could be all yours in our very latest Great British Giveaway. There's a totally tax-free £25,000 in cash that you'll be able to spend on anything you like this year. Plus, you'll also get to drive away in a brand new Benevan 122 camper van. Courtesy of Marquis Leisure, this latest 2026 model comes fully loaded with everything you'd expect. You can even drive it on your existing driving licence. Plus, it comfortably sleeps 4 people. Make sure you don't miss out on the biggest prize package of the year so far. For another chance to win a camper van and cash, text prize to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB20 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of May. The winner may be contacted live after all entry routes have closed. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yes, good luck.
Indeed so. Now, still to come, Paul's going to be here with all the sport, and could we see the return of Tiger Woods this weekend? We'll find out in a moment.
Thank you for making us Britain's #1 news channel. Together, we have built something truly extraordinary.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. On the M1 northbound in Derbyshire, a broken down vehicle blocks one lane between junctions 29 and 29A. The M5 southbound has closures between junctions 1 and 2 due to an overturned vehicle causing 50-minute delays. In Milton Keynes, 2 lanes are closed on the M1 northbound between junctions 13 and 14 following a collision. The M4 eastbound is slow from junction 28 at Tredegar Park to junction 24 at Coldra. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast and Cross Country are using buses between Stafford and Wolverhampton, with Cross Country also delayed between Doncaster and Sheffield. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off-limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Loyalty points is here. They're our way of saying thank you for spending time with GB News. Through commenting on your say, voting in You Decide polls and shaping the debate, you can earn GB loyalty points. Unlock rewards, reach milestones and climb leaderboards. Don't just watch our programmes, come and be part of them. Get started by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/loyalty points.
Welcome back to Breakfast at Sports Time. Paul Coyte's here with us. Morning.
Hello, World Cup playoff semi-finals today. Is this because I'm always careful with you, Ellie, because you don't like a draw or any of that, and it does get a little bit confusing. I hope you're OK with this.
I just get a little bit lost.
Right, I'm going to try and explain as best I possibly can. Okay. Wales are playing Bosnia-Herzegovina tonight, so it's the semi-finals. So it's a one-off game. So should they win that, they will play the winning team of Italy and Northern Ireland, and whoever wins that will be on Tuesday, will then go to the World Cup. It's as simple as that. So it's just like semi-final. So I want to mention, though, is that Cliff Jones, who's been on the show before, 91 now, Cliff, Welsh legend, will be there at Cardiff presenting Ben Davies with a gold cap for his 100th appearance.
Oh, nice.
Playing for Wales. And I saw Cliff the other day, and bless him, and so he's going to be there, so we wish them all well.
Oh, we do.
It's a huge game for Wales. And Craig Bellamy, who I've also spoken about before, as a player, he's the sort that you would just think, oh, you know what, nasty piece of work. But a very, very nice man, and he's really together, and he really is completely embraced management. So he's looking after Wales, and he was asked about the game tonight and how he thinks the crowd's going to make a difference, is what he said.
It's big. It's big. It's just even the thought of, imagine going over to Bosnia to play them in their grounds. You know, it's international football. It's tough. And it's for any team coming to our ground as well. It's tough. It does make a difference. It does help you. But the important factor in this, we have to be clear as well. I mean, as a team, we have to be calm. It's not for us to ride that roller coaster.
I think it might be tough.
Calm and tough. That's what it is. The game's tough, but you've got to stay calm. That's what we got through that. Well, it's absolutely a fair message. So Wales tonight, they've never beaten Bosnia and Herzegovina, of course, in 4 games. So the 4 times they played them, never won. So that's tonight.
Well, good luck to them.
We wish them well. And so Italy at home to Northern Ireland. That's going to be very, very tough for Northern Ireland. Italy, though, haven't qualified 2018, 2022, which is amazing.
Never know.
And Republic of Ireland are away in Czechia, or Czech Republic, or the old Czechoslovakia, as you used to call it in the old days. There you go.
Had a few names.
OK, fine.
What's Keely Hodgkinson been doing?
Well, apart from winning gold medal in the World Indoor Athletics Championship in the 800 metres, well, the story is that the World Athletics Championship, the Outdoor World Athletics Championship, last happened in 2017 at the London Stadium, and West Ham had to play their first 3 games away from home. But the thing is, it really is essentially an athletic stadium.
Yeah, of course it is.
And it's also funded by the taxpayer, which is the reason that West Ham actually get to be the tenants so cheaply. So West Ham are not very happy because this hasn't actually gone through yet. There's talk that, you know, that London want, they've already bid for the 2029 World Athletics Championship, but West Ham are saying, well, we're not really too happy about that because, you know, we're going to have to play our first 3 games away from home, which You know, it's more, isn't it more important that we have it? Well, when it was here before, it was amazing. It was the next best thing to the Olympics. Yeah. And we support athletics brilliantly. So anyway, Keely Hodgkinson saw this, and I know we've got the tweet. She responded by putting on London's bid for 2029 World Championship is in jeopardy. She responded by saying the GB team will be able to bring more medals to that stadium than West Ham have seen in their entire history.
Ooh, ouch.
Oh. Manchester United fan Keely Hodgkinson. Maybe Keely's thinking, oh, I don't know whether that's going to help things. Yeah, so anyway.
Mind you, I mean, look.
It's fair, it's true.
It's an athletic stadium and they're getting it on the cheap and we're paying for it.
Yeah, and I think
so
3 games away, you get 3 games at home later on. So I shouldn't really worry about that.
Yeah.
Is Tiger Woods coming back?
Well, he's playing in this TGL competition, which is he's founded with Rory McIlroy. Have a look at this. This is the indoor competition.
It's the indoor
so
thing?
I love this. I wish they would bring this here because I would
the one with the movable.
Yes, the movable greens.
Yeah.
And we've got his shot. He's Jupiter Lynx team lost. See, look at this. I think it looks great.
Yeah. Crowds
around the outside, and everybody, and there's all these top golfers play it. And it's completely accurate, and he hit it through there. Very good. Well done, Tiger. Everybody very happy with him there. Hey, lots of high five. Well, they're fist pumps there. That's what they do in golf. So Tiger was then asked about his injuries and whether he will be able to play at the Masters, happening in Augusta, in just a couple of weeks' time. Let's hear from Tiger.
As I said, I've been trying. It's just this body doesn't recover like it was when I was 24, 25. Doesn't mean I'm not trying. I've been trying for a while. I've had a couple bad injuries here over the past year that I've had to fight through, and it's taken some time. But I keep trying. I want to play. I've loved the tournament. I love being there since when I was 19 years old.
Your body recovers like it was when it was 24, 25, doesn't it?
I'm like a teenager.
Because I'm the same.
Bounce back.
And Tiger, maybe just too much golf. Maybe that's what it is. Anyway.
Actually, he's trimmed down, hasn't he? He's looking a bit better.
He's looking pretty good, but it's a tough ask. He's not going to win another major. He's
Oh.
50 years old now.
Is he 50?
Yeah.
Wow.
So young.
I know. He's just a kid.
Watch it. Watch it. All right, Paul, we'll see you later.
Thank you. Now, do stay with us. Still to come, the first trailer for the new Harry Potter TV series has been released, so stay tuned for a sneak peek of that. We're going to be going through that and much more in the papers with James Rampton and Suzanne Evans. Morning, you two.
First, so here's your European forecast.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Are you heading away for a bit of sunshine? Well, Storm Deborah continues to bring very wet weather to parts of Italy and the Mediterranean. Meanwhile, high pressure dominates across more western areas of Europe, across the Canary Islands and Madeira too. Plenty of sunshine across Spain and southern areas of France. But here's Storm Deborah bringing hill snow as well as wet weather and windy weather across Italy and towards the Mediterranean, including Croatia, throughout the start of this weekend at least. It does turn drier into next week though. Bye-bye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
The thought of war in space now, so forget the Middle East, forget anywhere else, we're going to space for war apparently. The thought of that could only concern the imagination recently of even film directors like George Lucas and Ridley Scott, but get this, a British billionaire, Richard Branson, has recently warned that war could actually be coming to a galaxy not too far away. Speaking at the Spacecom Expo conference, Branson has given an eerie warning that Britain must prepare for war in space and emphasised the need to dominate the industry for the sake of national security. Branson said that we could, quote, hopefully work with the Americans, but be ready to stand on our own 2 feet. With war very much raging on Earth, is speculation about a potential war in space just a sign of an active imagination, or is it possibly a reality? Well, with me now is my favourite space enthusiast expert, Andy Lound. Andy, good to see you. We've still got wars going on Earth. Why do we need to go to space and start scrapping it out?
Good morning. There's always been an issue of warfare in space since the first days. I mean, if we want to take it simply as spy satellites, that's a way of actually looking down on the Earth, part of the open sky program, which Eisenhower wanted, which is why he was keen for the Russians to get the first satellite up, because then he could declare open skies to spy on each other. And in fact, the idea of using weapons in space is by no means a new idea. If we go back to 1975, Almaz 3, a Salyut space station, the Soviets, as they were at the time, actually had a cannon mounted on the space station in order to test the use of a cannon in space, which they might be able to use, therefore, to take out satellites and other spacecraft. It was tested when the crew came back, for obvious reasons, because it could be dangerous with the recoil. But they did actually test a weapon out in space.
GB News, the People's Channel.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
the Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
Because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
It is 7:48. Let's have a look at the front pages.
Daily Telegraph leads to the scandals surrounding national savings and investments, with reports that taxpayers will have to foot the bill for the £400 million in missing payouts.
The Times has the latest on Iran, with reports President Trump is raging behind the scenes over Iran's refusal to accept his peace deal.
The Guardian leads with Iran rejects US ceasefire proposal amid attempts to keep talks alive.
All right, let's go through some of those with Suzanne Evans and James Rampton. Good morning, you two. Should we start with, because it's another big story of ours this morning, this whole, well, is it a cover-up, is it not a cover-up, over Morgan McSweeney and his phone?
Well, I don't think it's a cover-up so much as a cock-up, I would say, but it is a sort of Sherlock Holmes case, isn't it? The mystery of the missing phone. It reminds me of that moment in the Rebecca Vardy case when her agent completely inexplicably and mysteriously lost her phone in the North Sea. I mean, if you were cynical, you'd say it's very convenient that McSweeney lost that phone. But it's the lack of curiosity from Number 10 that is the real question. In a Number 10 that people say is very paranoid about security, why was no one asking questions about where this phone was? It could have had extremely sensitive national security messages on it. And you do think...
Unless you wipe it remotely.
Well, yes, but I mean, there's still are there not computer boffins who could have retrieved that information if it fell into the wrong hands? I don't. But it's just the fact that Number 10 seemed totally uninterested in it. And one former Number 10 aide said the case smells as fishy as a trawler, and you really have to agree with that. There's something not quite right about it.
Yeah, you know, and even the Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, is saying that the fact this phone has gone missing, very conveniently, arguably, because of the whole issue around Lord Mandelson's appointment as an US ambassador. Even he's saying it's a bad look, so it must be pretty bad. And as you say, Stephen, he hasn't said he wiped his phone. Now, I don't know about you and me, I am the most ignoramus when it comes to tech. I really am. But even I know that when I get a new phone, I can download all my messages from the cloud onto the new phone, and you've got to keep them. So surely, why didn't that happen? Because these messages must have been crucial.
I was going to say, if there are key, you know, you would just re-download it. It's almost, you almost clone your own phone, don't you?
That's exactly what you do, yeah. And, you know, this is the Prime Minister's Chief of Staff. There were bound to have been messages on there that were sensitive. And, you know, you think, why on earth didn't he say, why didn't he tell the Met Police what was on the phone? And why didn't the Met Police realise who... I mean, Morgan McSweeney, it's not exactly an uncommon name, is it, really? You know, they should have twigged what was going on and I think investigated more. At the end of the day, this all looks very convenient. As Wes Streeting says, a bad look.
Suzanne, let's stay with you, shall we, and look at the Daily Telegraph. This is about a row over Islamic prayers at a Church of England primary school.
Yeah, basically what's happened is someone in Richard Tice, Reform MP's constituency, has complained to him that his child was, he says, coerced and manipulated into taking part into Islamic prayers in an RE lesson. And he's written to, at a Church of England school, and he's written to the new Archbishop of Canterbury, Sarah Mullally, to say what's going on here and what's the Church's position on this. So I have to say, I'm finding it a little bit difficult to really have much sympathy here. The school absolutely categorically denies that there was any coercion involved. It was a normal part, they say, of a religious education lesson. It wasn't an act of worship. It was simply, if you like, immersive RE. And I think that's a very important part of religious education. I'm a little bit biased. My degree's in religious studies. It was one of my favourite lessons at school. I was an RE, a religious affairs reporter for the BBC for many years. And I think it's a wonderful thing for kids to realise how other people worship, because worship is so diverse, and that's what I find so wonderful about it. From the whole Islamic ritual of facing to Mecca and kneeling down on the prayer mat, you know, Buddhist walking meditation, doing arti at a Hindu temple with candles, and it's all a lovely thing to do. And I think it's very important to know how other people worship. So I've got no problem with kids being taken to a mosque and even going through the motions of prayer. You're not actually praying unless you're praying. So let's see what the Archbishop of Canterbury has to say. But that's part of RE, actually.
Well, it's true. The Diocese of Lincoln said it was not an act of worship. No prayers or religious words were spoken, and no child, this is important, was required to take part. So the idea that they were coerced is being contradicted by the Church, and they're saying...
I don't know how you would coerce any child to
Well,
do
exactly.
That,
a child might say, no, I don't understand that, or I don't fancy it, and no teacher would force them to do it.
No. The other thing I think is important to say about RE lessons is, you know, you do have the option as a parent to withdraw your child from them. I don't think a parent should, but there is that option.
You can.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, all parents have the option to withdraw their children without even explaining why from RE lessons. So I don't think this idea of coercion really sticks at all.
No. Should we have a look? Have we got time for the Harry Potter thing? Let's have a quick play of the Harry Potter.
Wave your magic wand, Stephen.
You are a normal boy. And you're going to start acting like one.
Didn't show us much.
HBO television series that's coming out. The new Harry Potter, if you like. It's called Welcome to Hogwarts. What do you think, James?
Well, I think HBO and J.K. Rowling will be delighted that we are featuring this, because it's a huge money-making machine, Harry Potter. I would also say that it's been an enormous help with getting children to read. When the first books were released, statistics showed, and this is important, that more boys were reading, and she has to be applauded for that.
Well, that's a great thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right, you two, we'll see you later. Thank you very much indeed.
Here's your weather.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning, welcome to your latest GB News weather update, brought to you from the Met Office. It will feel a little bit warmer today, still pretty chilly for the time of year. Some sunshine across eastern areas, but rain is on the way across the north and west. But a bright start to the day for many of us, in fact, and it should remain fairly dry through much of the day, particularly across the eastern half of the country. Quite a brisk northerly wind, though, still affecting eastern coasts. Meanwhile, across parts of Northern Ireland and Scotland, clouds starting to thicken this afternoon. A lot of low cloud around, some rain, some gusty winds as well. And still a pretty disappointing day temperature-wise compared to average for the time of year. But as I said, warmer than yesterday at least. Now that rain continues across parts of Scotland, Northern Ireland into tonight. You can see the wind strengthening around the weather front that's moving in, so perhaps some gusty winds for a period of time to come this evening. Where skies remain clear across more eastern areas, it will be a pretty chilly evening, but across parts of Northern Ireland and parts of North Wales as well, lots of cloud moving in for the night. So it will be a milder night tonight for these areas compared to last night, in fact. Across eastern areas, it remains dry, at least through the first part of the night, but the cloud does continue to thicken from the north and west. Now, once that rain clears the far northwest of Scotland, it will turn colder once again, so clearer skies, pushing in a blustery start to the day across these areas, but for many of us, a cloudy and damp start to Friday. Across the southeast, we could see a touch of frost in any rural areas where it's a clear night. Now, as the cloud and rain continues to push southeastwards through Friday, it will turn wetter from the south and east. Meanwhile, it turns brighter across more northwestern areas, so a bit of a split picture to come on Friday, but further wintry showers will push in from the north and west, and it will turn much colder again to start the weekend. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you to our global community for watching and listening to GB News. We're not only the #1 news channel in Britain, we're chosen by you around the world.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. On the A90 northbound before the Forfar Road junction, a broken-down vehicle is partially blocking the carriageway. On the M4 eastbound at junction 33, there is congestion on the off-slip at Capel-Lenilturn. On the M1 northbound in Derbyshire between junction 29 and junction 29A, one lane is closed due to a broken-down vehicle, expected to ease after 8:10 this morning. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast and Cross Country are using buses between Stafford and Wolverhampton, with Cross Country also delayed between Doncaster and Sheffield. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Everything you need to enjoy a super summer could be on us this year, as you could drive away with this very latest Benivan 4-berth campervan. This campervan is fully equipped with its own kitchen, bathroom, dinette and plenty of storage. We'll also get your summer sorted with a further £25,000 in tax-free cash that you could spend however you like. For another chance to win a campervan and cash, text prize to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB20 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9 T. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of May. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Good morning. President Trump promises to unleash hell on Iran.
The regime denies claims that it's negotiating with the Americans and says it has no intention of ending the war.
And they are negotiating, by the way, and they want to make a deal so badly, but they're afraid to say it because they figure they'll be killed by their own people.
But with global oil prices moving higher, is President Trump becoming more desperate to end the war?
Unfortunately, there are thefts like this. It was stolen, it was reported at the time, and the police have acknowledged and confirmed that that is what happened.
Breaking news, the Prime Minister responds to allegations that Number 10 never even tried to find the Prime Minister's former Chief of Staff, Morgan McSweeney's stolen phone.
The government gives British forces the green light to board Russian tankers entering UK waters.
Giving permission for the UK to intercept shadow fleet, Russian shadow fleet ships. These are ships that are unlawfully breaching sanctions, usually with oil. Will be.
Well, we're going to be speaking to the Armed Forces Minister Al Carnes about that at around 8:30 this morning.
Now, could this be social media's tobacco moment? It's a historic ruling against Meta and Google. How could it change social media? We'll bring you the details.
Could Labour lose the Welsh vote? We're going to be hearing from voters in Wales ahead of the local elections.
Also, we're asking about the National Trust. Is it undermining British values? We'll debate that after the charity came under fire because of their new mission statement.
And in sport, huge night for Wales. They play Bosnia and Herzegovina, and Northern Ireland play Italy in their World Cup playoff semi-finals tonight. The London Marathon could become a two-day event from next year, and why Arsenal fans are having to wear West Ham shirts.
Good morning. It is a little bit warmer out there today, but will it get any warmer into the weekend? Well, I'll have all the details for you a little later on.
It's just gone 8 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Right, lots of politics today. Let's start with the Shadow Secretary of State for Business and Trade, Andrew Griffith, who joins us now. Good morning to you. Can I start off by getting your take, the Conservatives' take, on the Iranian situation? Do you believe there was ever any peace talks planned? And if not, I mean, what should we do next? Lib Dems telling us this morning it's time to walk away from all of this. Is that something you support, or is this a problem that now needs to be finished?
Good morning. I have to be completely honest, I've no idea if there were talks underway or with whom or by when. And one of the great tragedies, I think, is that, you know, the much depleted UK armed forces, brilliant though the people who serve are, means that in situations like this, which of course affect us all, the price of energy, the damage being done to British businesses, we really don't much have a seat at the table.
Can I talk to you about Morgan McSweeney's stolen mobile phone? Scotland Yard saying that they didn't know the details of the victim's employment. They weren't aware then of the particular security risks that were associated with this device or the material on it. We've just heard from the Prime Minister in the past hour or so, essentially saying there's nothing to see here. And that's after reports on the front pages of the papers today saying that number 10 Downing Street made no attempt to recover the stolen phone. What do you make of all of this? Wes Streeting yesterday saying this is cock-up rather than conspiracy.
The whole thing is as smelly as a fish market on a hot summer's afternoon. It just doesn't compute, does it? You know, I worked in number 10 briefly. I had a number 10 phone. There was a paranoia about devices like that falling into other people's hands. And so whether it was the Met Police, whether it was Morgan McSweeney, and what sounds like pretty evasive set of reporting, even when you look at that transcript, or whether it was the number 10 security team following up something that at the time they could not have been sure had not been taken by a state actor, a phone with all sorts of government secrets potentially in it. That's precisely why people in government have two separate phones. But there's an easy answer to this, which is for Morgan McSweeney today, pressed by his buddy, the Prime Minister, to hand over all of his phones, all of his devices, all of his cloud accounts, and we can put all of that in the public domain. And if there's nothing to hide, what has he got to be fearful of?
All right, well, look, fair point. I was quite struck by the fact you said we've no seat at the table over something which is happening internationally, which is having and looks like it's going to continue to have a devastating impact on our economy and our businesses. What then do we do? Do we just have to cope with the aftermath of what is happening, or do we try to do something proactively to improve what is happening in our finances?
Well, look, for the one thing that we could do is start to unleash our natural energy resources. The Prime Minister was pressed on that yesterday. He had all sorts of evasive process answers, but he's the Prime Minister. He could summon Parliament this Saturday, give all of the approvals that are needed to start unleashing our natural energy resources. That would allow us to go forward and fund the defence, the long-delayed defence industrial plan. That's simply a question of starting to get taxpayers' money flowing into the defence assets that we need as a country. And those would be things that would start to put us once again in the top league of economies, have the sort of military and armed forces that the country is going to need to deal with some of these geopolitical challenges. I think it's very uncomfortable. People in Westminster do find it really uncomfortable that, yes, we are making a fantastic contribution to the front lines in Ukraine. We've put assets and intelligence and financial resources, and we're properly part of that, and it's great. The Prime Minister has always supported that. I think he's in Helsinki today. But if you look at events in the Gulf where countries that look to us as allies, where we do have particular interest to protect. I mean, it took us, 2 weeks to sail one frigate. Minesweepers were pulled from the Straits of Hormuz before action started. That's an embarrassing thing for the position for the UK to be in.
Mr Griffith, what can we do to try and support British businesses and especially British supermarkets at a time like this? The Chancellor was supposed to be meeting with supermarket bosses today. That meeting was scheduled. We're hearing reports that has since been cancelled. I'm not sure if you can shed any light on that. But what do we need to do looking ahead? There is concern about energy bills and those rising costs. The rising cost of fuel in terms of hauliers and getting stock into those supermarkets, and of course food inflation coming down the track as well. Do we need to look at cutting policy costs from bills? Do we need to look at targeted support for energy efficiency?
Well, if I was the business secretary, the first thing I would do is back British business. Stop attacking them. Stop making spurious allegations. It's no wonder that big bosses don't want to meet this government, because all that they ever do is attack business. In terms of what we really need to do, and it's not just supermarkets, it's the whole economy. It's particularly small businesses on our high streets that are facing an April Armageddon of extra taxes, more costs, more red tape. When you're in a hole, stop digging. And this government just keeps digging that hole deeper, piling on more regulations, putting up the cost of national insurance, making it harder to employ people. That's why we've got 1 in 6 young people unemployed now, an absolute tragedy. So when you're in a hole, stop digging, stand back, let's focus on what we need. Need cheaper energy, lower and simpler taxes, cut the red tape, and then business would have a chance of doing what it does really well, which is help grow the economy and give people jobs.
Yeah, but look, we always focus, there's a lot of focus on big business, understandably so, and they plough masses into the economy. But actually, it's small and medium-sized businesses that are the grassroots of our economy, and we know they are absolutely struggling at the moment. Do we need to make a concerted effort to revive them, those businesses we see on our high streets, in order to get this economy moving?
100%. And when I think about business, it is those small high street businesses. It's one reason why the Conservatives have said, against limited headroom, that one of the things we would do is cut welfare so that we can cut business rates on 250,000 small businesses, actually pubs, restaurants, high street shops. That would be a tangible thing. We would repeal most of Labour's unemployment bill, the 330 pages of red tape. That all lands on the head of these poor small businesses, short on time. I've seen business owners who are doing more and more shifts themselves, working 7 days a week because they can no longer afford to hire people. That's the sort of thing that the Conservatives want to do. And when we come and look at measures on energy, it's particularly, again, the small businesses that are paying through the nose. They don't get any price caps or protection. And part of that energy bill, or that fuel bill, if it's oil, heating oil or whatever, is just taxes going straight to the government. That's where the government should be looking.
OK, Andrew Griffith, thank you so much for your time this morning on GB News Breakfast.
Right, let's get the thoughts of our chief political correspondent, Catherine Forster. Catherine, morning.
Morning.
What do you make of that?
Well, certainly is a crisis on the high street, isn't there? But of course that has been going on a long time, including under the Tories for 14 years. And of course, many of us buy lots of our things online because it's very convenient. I'm guilty of that too. I thought it was very honest of him when you asked him about talks that the US may or may not be having with Iran, who to believe. He said he's got no idea. And that's the fact of the matter, that we don't really know. We don't know, do we? I was talking to a defence expert yesterday, somebody on the right, who was just back from Washington, and he said that he doesn't think Donald Trump knows what he's doing, and moreover, he spoke to a lot of Republicans in Washington that don't think that Donald Trump knows what he's doing either. But the consequences are with all of us. Now, the Prime Minister is at the Joint Expeditionary Forces Summit in Helsinki today. This group of 10 Baltic and northern nations that work together for defence in the High North. He was asked about defence spending earlier in that clip that you would have seen a bit earlier, and he isn't committing to when they're going to raise defence spending to 3%, let alone 5%, which is what they've promised at NATO last year. And in the meantime, we've got the unbelievable situation of Germany having to actually apparently loan us a ship because we don't have enough to meet our NATO commitment. So we're borrowing a ship from Germany, but putting our own crew on it. So I think a lot of questions about the Prime Minister's rhetoric on defence, which is pretty strong, and the reality perhaps not.
Yeah.
OK, Catherine, thank you very much. We are speaking to Al Carnes, aren't we, the Armed Forces Minister. So I'll put some of this to him. That's at 8:30, so don't miss that.
Right, but now it's time for the weather with Annie.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning, welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. It will feel a little bit warmer today, still pretty chilly for the time of year. Some sunshine across eastern areas, but rain is on the way across the north and west. But a bright start to the day for many of us, in fact, and it should remain fairly dry through much of the day, particularly across the eastern half of the country. Quite a brisk northerly wind, though, still affecting eastern coasts. Meanwhile, across parts of Northern Ireland and Scotland, clouds starting to thicken this afternoon. A lot of low cloud around, some rain, some gusty winds as well, and still a pretty disappointing day temperature-wise compared to average for the time of year, but as I said, warmer than yesterday at least. Now that rain continues across parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland into tonight. You can see the wind strengthening around the weather front that's moving in, so perhaps some gusty winds for a period of time to come this evening. Where skies remain clear across more eastern areas, it will be a pretty chilly evening, but across parts of Northern Ireland and parts of North Wales as well, lots of cloud moving in for the night. So it will be a milder night tonight for these areas compared to last night, in fact. Across eastern areas, it remains dry, at least for the first part of the night, but the cloud does continue to thicken from the north and west. Now, once that rain clears the far northwest of Scotland, it will turn colder once again, so clearer skies pushing in a blustery start to the day across these areas, but for many of us, a cloudy and damp start to Friday. Across the southeast, we could see a touch of frost in any rural areas where it's a clear night. Now, as the cloud and rain continues to push southeastwards through Friday, it will turn wetter from the south and east. Meanwhile, it turns brighter across more northwestern areas, so a bit of a split picture to come on Friday, but further wintry showers will push in from the north and west, and it will turn much colder again to start the weekend. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Now, we are thrilled to announce that GB News Breakfast has once again been nominated for Best News Programme at the Trick Awards.
Yeah, we've won the last 3, would you believe it? And that is all down to you. It's all down to your vote. So if you are kind enough to think we should win again this year, It's again down to you. You'd have to vote, which you can do by scanning the QR code on your screen now if you're watching on the TV. Or, if you are listening on the radio, the address you need to go to is poll-trick.org.uk.
Thank you so much. Now, do stay with us. Still to come, is the National Trust erasing British values? We're debating that after the organisation changed its mission statement to remove words like countryside. Depends what they replaced it with, I suppose.
Yes, need to have a look at that. Anyway, we'll tell you more in a moment.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain's newsroom. Weekday mornings from 9:30.
I'm not quite sure. Spring has sprung here in North Yorkshire. There you can see some beautiful daffodils behind us, so that's something. But yes, it's the International Day of Happiness decreed by the United Nations. They put together a report every year based on how happy 147 countries across the world are. And in their report as well, they focus on different things each year. This year they've been focusing on the link between social media and happiness. But the list of those countries, where does Britain come, would you say? Well, it comes at number 28 out of 147, so it's not even on the top 20 list. The top 5, though, of happy countries, number 1 is Finland, then that's followed by Iceland, Denmark, Costa Rica and Sweden. And at the bottom of the list are Sierra Leone and Afghanistan. But we're here in Skipton as last year it was voted the happiest place to live, and that was a survey done by Rightmove, and there was a variety of things that made it the happiest place to live. It's a bustling market town. The market's on, in fact, today. It's got a medieval castle, a medieval church, winding cobbly streets, plenty of shops to go to, both chain stores and independent stores, and lots of lovely restaurants and cafes as well. I've been speaking to people here in Skipton about what they love about the town. This is what they told me.
Skipton's great. The chatty people. Everywhere you go, it's not just because you're a tourist visiting. I'm a non-Skiptonian that moved here and I feel welcomed.
I was born and bred here in Skipton, so it's my hometown. I absolutely love it. The people are fantastic, the people are so friendly, and it's just the happiest place to be.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Every week there are stories that shape the national conversation.
We'll be discussing that.
And on Saturday Morning Live, we break them down.
Is that true? This is fascinating, isn't it?
The politics, the headlines, the debates everyone's talking about.
And the questions that you want answered.
Do you think that was a legitimate attack for him to make?
What led you to set up this fantastic movement?
You know what? It's a great question, Olivia.
So what are you waiting for?
Your weekend starts here. Saturdays at 10 a.m, only on GB News. There are stories that shape the national conversation.
We'll be discussing that.
And on Saturday Morning Live, we break them down.
Is that true? This is fascinating, isn't it?
The politics, the headlines, the debates everyone's talking about.
And the questions that you want answered.
Do you think that was a legitimate attack for him to make?
What led you to set up this fantastic movement?
You know what? It's a great question, Olivia.
So what are you waiting for?
Your weekend starts here. Saturdays at 10 a.m, only on GB News.
19 minutes past 8 now. This may get your goat a little bit. The National Trust has quietly updated its values to prioritise embracing the traditions of different cultures.
Yes, the charity has also removed references to words like history and countryside.
So why would it do this? Is it trying to erase or downplay traditional British values?
Well, to debate this morning, we're joined by political commentator Charlie Downs and director at the Climate Media Coalition, Donica McCarthy. Morning, you two. Donica, let's start with you. Do you think that this is the National Trust erasing British values?
Absolutely not. I looked at the website last night, and top 3 headlines: history and heritage. This is an invented story by a German-owned billionaire newspaper yet again, attacking one of Britain's great institutions. The National Trust is amazing. It manages 620,000 acres, 500 homes. It's got 10,000 volunteers, all run with a single penny of taxpayer money. It's one of our great institutions. Why is it Telegraph constantly attacking British institutions? I think we need to stop this and value this amazing, amazing British institution.
It's a fair point, isn't it, Charlie?
Well, the National Trust certainly is, in theory, a great British institution, just like the BBC, for example. These things, in theory, are wonderful. I think, personally, that it's entirely appropriate that we have, for example, a national broadcaster, as well as an institution to which we trust our, beautiful landscapes, stately homes, and so on. But the fact of the matter is, the story of what's happened to the National Trust is very much the same as what's happened to the BBC and indeed every other major institution in our country, which is that they were set up with the best of intentions, but in recent decades have been, frankly, infiltrated by a class of people who all share the same beliefs, the same view of the world, and have essentially been taken over and subverted. And these people, what unites them is, in my view, a university education, a view of the world that is very progressive and liberal, and which, when that interfaces with reality, ends up sounding like anti-white hatred, anti-British hatred. And so, that's, I think, what's happened to the National Trust. And now my view is that we should not be looking at, closing down the National Trust or the BBC or anything like that. We need to essentially clear these people out, create a culture in which these sorts of beliefs, the idea that, for example, the National Trust, their responsibility is to, be a movement, and sort of be a politically active organisation, and actually fill it with patriots, people who love the country.
Charlie, the National Trust has 5 million members. Are you saying 5 million members are all infiltrators? It's got 10,000 volunteers. It's an amazing institution. For example, this issue about inclusivity. In the past, Britain had a culture of intolerance against other religions. It would have actually burnt people like you, Catholic people like you, at the stake. I don't see any problem with the National Trust telling the history of the owners of their buildings. Some of their owners of the buildings would have exploited Irish people during the famine, and they would have had wealth from that. What is wrong with telling those stories? A proud, confident nation embraces its history, the good and the bad. And that is what I think this brilliant British institution is doing. And I think that the carping from foreign billionaire-owned media that you're regurgitating, and frankly, I thought somebody like you from your organisation would actually oppose this infiltration of Britain by foreign media billionaires and reclaim our sovereignty in the media. What are you talking about? Stop attacking British institutions on behalf of foreign billionaires.
Very good. Yes. Well, you'll hear no defence of the Telegraph from me, but the fact is, this is the story that's been reported. And having looked at the National Trust website as you have, I can't help but, and also, by the way, having been to National Trust sites recently, like I went to, Box Hill, for example, in Surrey, which is a beautiful place. But on the billboard, there was all this stuff about, walking groups that were just exclusively for ethnic minorities. And it's like, what are we doing here? Like, that's not representing the interests of the majority of British people. And as I say, if you have spent any time reading, essentially what amounts to any social science university syllabus, as I regrettably have, you will be familiar with the kind of drivel that the National Trust is coming out with about marginalised communities and being a group, a movement for everyone in the world.
Well, it's
Britain.
All right, Charlie. So, Donica, as far as that goes, and I am a member of the National Trust, shouldn't it be focusing on the beautiful land it owns, the beautiful buildings, and actually what is effectively our history, good and bad? Shouldn't that be the focus of what it's there for?
Absolutely, and there in the headlines, if you look at the website, is Britain's national heritage and history. If you go to the website, 99% of it refers to exactly that, Stephen. I don't see what the problem is here. We've actually got a successful institution that's managing 620. It's planting 20 million trees. 20 million trees is planting on behalf of Britain. We wouldn't have access to 800 miles of our coastline without the National Trust. We would have lost 500 houses to the public if we didn't have it.
So why is it feeling the need to have itself as a sort of campaigning organisation on other issues and talking about different cultures rather than just our own?
Well, you're actually looking at the screen at this moment. You're looking at one of the most amazing wildlife reserves a seabird wildlife reserve. Climate change is devastating those seabird colonies. Climate change is devastating its forests, its land. And so therefore it sees it necessary to stand up and actually, on behalf of Britain, defend our climate and defend our farmers, because with no climate, there's no farmers, Stephen. I think it's really good that they're doing that on behalf of Britain.
Charlie, last word to you.
Well, look, I'm a believer in protecting the environment, and I think that one of the roles of the National Trust should be to preserve the glorious British countryside. But climate change is a very different thing to that, because it's essentially, climate change is a narrative that everywhere and always ends up ceding more power to central government. It's essentially a kind of formula used to, I think, impose greater controls over the lives of ordinary people. And at the end of the day, I mean, Britain accounts for less than 1% of global emissions. So no matter how hard the National Trust tries, ultimately, we're not going to be able to have a particularly noticeable effect on global climate change. So I think it's just silly. And at the end of, ultimately, the National Trust, its purpose is to preserve our stately homes, preserve our natural spaces, and it shouldn't be involving itself in weird ideological projects like climate change and opening these spaces up to ethnic minorities. It should just do its job.
Oh my gosh,
like every
are
other
you actually
institution.
saying... You've just said that you're saying to want to exclude ethnic minorities from our premises. Look, the National Trust has to actually have income. Excluding 18% of our population because you want them excluded, it's crazy. It's 18% of the income. We want to attract everybody into the National Trust for their pleasure, but also to make sure it's economically viable.
All
Why
right,
exclude anybody?
There, we must leave it because we're out of time. Donica McCarthy, Charlie Downs, thanks both very much indeed.
You will have a view on that at home, gbnews.com/you'll-say. A National Trust spokesperson has told GB News that the National Trust's mission has always been and remains to promote the permanent preservation of places of historic interest or natural beauty. As the opening message explains on our updated website, as Europe's biggest conservation charity, we look after nature, beauty and history for everyone to enjoy. It's important to us that we have certainly not replaced history with culture.
All right. Coming up for you in just a moment, we're going to be talking to the Armed Forces Minister, Al Carnes. All the details next.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The A90 northbound before Forfar Road junction is blocked by a broken-down vehicle. On the M4 eastbound, congestion occurs at junction 33 near Capel Lanilturn. In Wakefield, the A1M southbound entry slip at junction 41 is closed after a collision, recovery expected around 11:30. In Milton Keynes, the M1 northbound between junctions 13 and 14 has one lane closed following a crash, clearing around 12:15. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast and Cross Country use buses between Stafford and Wolverhampton, with Cross Country also delayed between Doncaster and Sheffield. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Ray, are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power?
Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber.
Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics.
We'll see where this ruling takes us.
These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
The Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's tonight, late edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Quite intrigued by that last debate. Loads of you getting in touch on that one. I mean, I love going to the National Trust stuff.
Well, so do I, yeah. When I was a student, I had the student membership. It was £3 a month. Great value. I'd go and have a scone and a cup of tea.
Yeah, well,
Great
there you go.
scones.
That's what you do. You want it for the cafes. Nothing
Well, you
wrong
do.
with that.
Let's be honest.
Nothing wrong with that.
The weather's rarely
Right.
good enough to walk around.
Yeah. Right, should we get into some politics for you this morning and talk to the Armed Forces Minister, Al Carnes. Al, it's really good to see you this morning. Can we start with what the Prime Minister's been talking about in Helsinki today, which is all about these new powers to intercept Russia's shadow fleet. Can you explain what's going on with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Prime Minister is with our Joint Expeditionary Force partners and has just announced that if shadow fleet vessels, which are fleets that are smuggling oil for Russia to fund that illegal war, can be boarded by both British forces. We've already supported the French with some of this activity. We've supported the Americans. And now, if we see the opportunity, we're going to do it ourselves as well. And I think this is a really good step forward to really clamp down on illegal money that is going to fund probably one of the most barbaric wars we've seen since the Second World War. It's worth noting there's over 100,000 casualties the Russians have taken. That's more casualties than America took in the entire Second World War. So pushing back on them, stopping illegal oil is a really good thing.
Well, meanwhile, the Royal Navy has been forced to borrow a warship from Germany. It's been described as a national embarrassment that Britain is unable to meet its NATO commitments as of next month. Lord West, the former head of the Navy, says it puts us in peril that all of these cuts have come home to roost. What is going on here? How have we been left in this situation?
Well, we've hollowed out defence for the last, 20-odd years. That's the reality. We took a dividend after the Cold War, where we had hostile state of Russia, and we had to have a really strong military. We embarked on wars of choice, usually counter-terrorist operations all over the world. And as a result, we disinvested in some of the big capabilities that we require to deter hostile states. I would say one thing when it comes to allies. There's one thing worse than working with allies, and that's working without them. We just got back from a 20,000-mile circumnavigation of the globe, pretty much, with our Carrier Strike Group. And we had the French, we had the Americans, a whole plethora of allies supporting us. We've now said, ask the Germans to help us. We've still got a one-star Commodore going to be in command, and I think that's a good thing, and that's what good allies do for each other.
Yeah, but we're in a situation. I mean, you would accept, I'm sure, that it would be better if we had our own operational fleet or fully operational fleet at the moment. And we are in a situation where we do need to increase defence spending, and we've been told 3% by the Prime Minister. We will get to 3%, but he won't tell us when. Well, if we don't know what the timeline for that is, it may as well not happen. I mean, as an armed forces minister and as a former Marine, someone who knows how all this works, on a personal level, you must find that frustrating.
Yeah, 100%. You won't get a bigger advocate for defence spending than me. And I'm still in the Marines, I'm still in the reserves, I'm still clinging on. And what I would say is we've agreed to increase defence spending. We've now got to be really clear on how that defence spending is going to be spent, send the right message to industry, and then get rebuilding some of this capability. It's worth noting we've done an amazing deal with the Norwegians, done a Typhoon deal with the Turkish. We are building back our capability and capacity, but these things do take time.
Yeah, but you need the Prime Minister to tell you when you're going to ramp up the spending, don't you? And when your budget is going to increase.
We've been clear on some of the budget increases. What we've got to do now is be clear on how we're going to spend that money. And the other thing I would say is, we've got the National Armaments Director now in post. He's a deep professional from an industry perspective, because I think there's frustration as well in the past that we haven't spent our money well. And I think we've got to make sure it goes as far and as broad as possible and we spend it on the right things.
We're hearing in the papers today from a former boss of BP claiming that Britain could be hit by oil and gas shortages within 3 weeks. He says we will see physical shortages in that time frame. What have the government got planned in this instance?
Yeah, so first of all, I think it's worth noting, I've always been told when you're putting troops in harm's way, 3 real things. 1, you need a legal mandate. 2, you need a plan. And 3, you got to think to the finish. This war in Iran has cut off a large chunk of the world's energy resources and a whole plethora of sort of critical minerals, etc., that we are going to feel the burden of. The Prime Minister called a COBRA just several days ago to really look across government, work out the impacts, take the totality of those impacts, and then make sure measures were put in place to protect and indeed support the population as we move forward. But let's be really clear on this. There are reverberations from that war in Iran that we will feel here in the UK and across the rest of the world, actually.
Yeah, all right. So there's 2 points to that then. One is, as the Tories would say, we haven't got a seat at the table over this, over something which is having a direct impact on us here in the UK. Perhaps we should have tried to have a bigger seat at the table. But the other issue is, of course, why not open up North Sea oil and gas? It's not going to reduce the global price per barrel of oil. But what it would do, say the Tories, is by the end of the year be bringing in £25 billion a year in tax revenue, which Andrew Griffith said, well, use that to spend on defence.
Yeah, so there's two points to that question, really. The first one is a seat at the table. First of all, we don't want a seat at the table in something we don't know how it's going to end and we don't have a clear understanding of the plan. But we do continue to work diplomatically to ensure we're trying to get to a resolution and de-escalation. The second one is, what does that de-escalation really mean? That's around the Straits of Hormuz. So how can we collectively support an international commitment to support shipping going into the Middle East and, importantly, coming out? That will affect both oil, gas prices and a variety of other minerals. And then the third point to that question was really about energy security, which I think is what you're trying to get to. We've got to move on a green transition, and we've got to continue to do what we're doing in the North Sea to ensure that we have a plethora of capabilities that sustain energy prices and don't allow them to fluctuate to the point of where they become unaffordable.
HMS Dragon has finally arrived in the Mediterranean and will be defending Cyprus. What do you make of the conversation going on in Cyprus? They're saying they want an open conversation now about British bases on the island. They're frustrated, and you can understand why, that we weren't able to defend that base RAF Akrotiri from that Iranian-made drone several weeks ago now. What do we do to ensure the safety of Cyprus and ensure the safety of those bases?
Well, there's a couple of points there. The first one is that no one could have predicted the Iranians' reckless reaction of hitting 10 different countries, cities, airports, ports, oil terminals, facilities, city centres. So no one could have predicted that completely irrationally and escalatory response. The second bit is it's actually exceptionally difficult from an air defence commander's perspective to deal with high and fast flying ballistic missiles and really low, slow drones that have a very small radar cross-section. And you'll actually find in and around Cyprus there are some of the most capable naval platforms from our allies and partners, and in some cases those small drones can get through. Interestingly, if you tie the two together, what you see happening in Russia and Ukraine, we now know that the Russians have provided intelligence to the Iranians, and secondly, there has been training on from the Russians on tactics on how to use these systems and integrate them. So we're seeing this migration of this conflict from Russia, Ukraine, all the way to the Middle East that is now tied up hundreds of thousands of British expats and nationals, hit 10 different countries, and now affecting Cyprus as well. What I can say when you talk about the defence of a static airfield, the solution in some cases is not a mobile destroyer. It's actually ground-based air defence. And unfortunately, we saw a 70% cut in some of the funding to ground-based air defence in the last government. There's no point looking back. This is about looking forward. We've sent a ton of capability into Cyprus prior to the conflict and indeed thickened it out. And as we speak right now, and it's amazing, I'll tell you now, it's amazing what the RAF regiment are doing in certain parts of the globe right now, shooting down drones on a daily basis. It's phenomenal.
Right, just before we let you go, Al, can I ask you something on it's a sort of personal level in a way, because, I mean, you're a politician now, right? You're a minister. And yet you spent a large part of your life very much on the front line, on the tough job. You're putting your life, and frankly, putting your life on the line and working within a chain of command. So, my thought to you is this. You're now in a position where whatever you personally believe, you've got to play politics, right? That's the game. It's that, you know, there's a party line, there's a government whip and all the rest of it. Is it time, do you think, in general terms, so you don't land yourself in trouble, is it time that we had a bit more firm action, a bit more of a command structure where someone decides to take action, to do something, to follow through without the necessarily distracting concerns of playing politics with it?
Yeah, so I'm a firm believer in hierarchies and direct action, and I'm a firm believer in that sort of solid leadership that needs to drive stuff through to conclusion. What I would say, though, and I say this ever so gently, I suppose a vision without a plan is a dream, and we've got to be careful of embarking on nightmares. And so careful consideration before we get involved in stuff needs to be taken before we drag this country into a war or indeed an engagement where we just don't know where it's going to go. And so what I would say is 100% direction, firm action, leadership, all behind that. But I do not want to embark on something where we haven't thought through the second and third order consequences and what that may mean for everybody in this nation.
OK.
Minister of State for the Armed Forces, Al Carnes, thank you so much for joining us on GB News Breakfast.
Yeah, it's always really good to talk to you.
Good morning, everyone.
Look, you know, and I've got a lot of respect for that, and this isn't about politics before you start messaging in. I've got a lot of respect for the work he's done as a Marine.
Yes.
And I think we need to, we owe all of our veterans, whatever their political views, a huge deal of respect. So, you know, I've got a lot of time for him as far as that goes.
He's done 2 tours of Afghanistan, hasn't he?
Oh, yeah, he's a tough man. I mean, he's a tough man. And he's still in the reserves, so he's still serving. Interesting points I thought you made.
Yep.
You tout him as a potential leadership contender, you know.
They do, yeah. Let us know what you think about that one.
I can see it. I can see it. Anyway, look, should we talk about giveaway? Because it's a whopping great £92,000 prize bundle. Here's how you take part.
Everything you need to enjoy a super summer could be on us this year, as you could drive away with this very latest Benivan 4-berth camper van worth over £67,000. Courtesy of Marquis Leisure, this camper van is fully equipped with its own kitchen, bathroom, dinette and plenty of storage. Plus, you can drive it on your existing licence. And if that wasn't enough, we'll also get your summer sorted with a further £25,000 in tax-free cash that you could spend however you like. In total, this prize package is worth over £92,000. So make sure you secure your place in the draw. For another chance to win a camper van and cash, text prize to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB20 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of May. The winner may be contacted live after all entry routes have closed. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Now, do stay with us still to come. We're back with James Rampton and Suzanne Evans going through the papers next.
First.
I hope we haven't forgotten anything.
Travel insurance, I tick that box.
Yeah, but remember what you forgot last year.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Are you heading away for a bit of sunshine? Well, Storm Deborah continues to bring very wet weather to parts of Italy and the Mediterranean. Meanwhile, high pressure dominates across more western areas of Europe, across the Canary Islands and Madeira too. Plenty of sunshine across Spain and southern areas of France. But here's Storm Deborah bringing hill snow as well as wet weather and windy weather across Italy and towards the Mediterranean, including Croatia, throughout the start of this weekend at least. It does turn drier into next week though. Bye-bye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Needs to stop. You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Pork pies. They're widely regarded as a classic British snack dating back to the 18th century.
But Tesco's recent survey found that a third of youngsters have never tried the savoury treat.
Outrageous. So the retailer have now released a limited edition pork pie-inspired sandwich. Here it is here. We've got one procured to try it out. But the idea of this is to give the youngsters of today all the chance to enjoy this nostalgic British classic, even if it's not a real pork pie, but a sandwich that has been flavoured as such.
That's a load of processed meat flattened together, like a slice of it. There's a slither in there with a bit of cheese. We're joined now by the owners of Fuller's Butchers and Farm Shop, Steve Fuller and Lily Fuller. Welcome.
Basically, we make our own pork pies. We sell about 400 a week, and yeah, I mean, to me, I'd say they're becoming more popular. Actually, I mean, they're a great snack. You can take them on a picnic. You've got the nice crispy pastry and the nice juicy pork meat inside. So
now I can see you're holding up those pork pies. We have got pork pies flavoured sandwiches here. I wonder if it's time to do a bit of a taste test. Perhaps you could bite into your pork pie there in your farm shop. We'll have a bite of this Tesco sandwich and see how it all feels. It's not going to be great for the listeners on the radio, but here we go. I think they've captured the essence of one. This is an excellent I can't speak with my mouth full of sandwich.
You ate too much, that was where you went wrong.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Welcome back. It's 8:48. We're going through the papers with Suzanne Evans and James Rampton this morning. Morning, you two. James, this is a very alarming story on the front page of the Daily Mail this morning. An AI bot told a teenager to use a hammer to kill his mother.
Yeah, I mean, shocking is a very overused word in journalism, but it really does apply in this case. This teenager apparently went on a Chinese AI system called DeepSeek, which has been banned in Australia, in order to ask for guidance on how to kill his mother, and it recommended that he use a hammer because that's good for, and I even choke on these words, for inexperienced killers. It's just extraordinary. And apparently 8 out of 10 chatbots will provide such advice, because you can just say, oh, I'm not going to kill anyone, I'm just researching, and then it will give you the information. And to me, there's a really pernicious and indeed worrying outbreak of misogyny through the incel movement. We saw that with the groundbreaking adolescence drama last year. So many mass murders in the US are committed by incels, and it's really down to the governments all over the world to try and put a stop to this, because it's encouraging disadvantaged or disenfranchised, angry young men to do the most appalling things to women, and there has to be a way of stopping it, because it's an outrage.
But they're not going to, because, as we know, governments worldwide think AI is the future. They're investing in AI. They talk about the dangers, but actually do nothing about them. And this awful AI app, originally it said, no, I'm not going to help you kill your mother. And then it said, well, I'm only doing it for research. And then it went on to give him advice. But clearly this is a deeply, deeply disturbed man, an evil man, I would argue. I mean, he didn't just kill his mother. He kidnapped her and kept her and tortured her for hours. I mean, I just can't imagine what's...
They didn't play that. He taped it, but they didn't play it to the jury because it was so upsetting. 4 hours.
And she was, by all accounts, a good mother.
Yeah.
He obviously didn't think she was, but she was a good mother. She was 45 years old. She was a teaching assistant. She loved him to bits. And yet he did that. It's a really difficult story to read.
But reading some of his messages about his absolutely unalloyed and irrational hatred of women, it scares me. It just makes me think, who is encouraging that mentality? How are young men getting into that mindset where they think, oh, well, I hate women so much, I'm going to kill them? It's really, really disturbing.
It's old as history, that one. Yeah.
Well,
it's enabled, I think, now by modern technology and the internet.
Well, talking of technology and internet and all the rest of it, The Times is looking at Google and Meta after this court ruling. Is it a tobacco moment, or is it not?
I mean, everyone's saying this is certainly a watershed moment, a bellwether case, they call it. It's a single case. Meta and YouTube been found liable for harm caused to a woman who became addicted to their platforms. TikTok and Snapchat have already made an out-of-court settlement to her, but now this jury in the States has decided that she should be paid $2 million by Meta and YouTube. So I think this is an interesting one. I think the point needs to be made that she started looking at YouTube when she was 6. Now, all platforms, I think, have a 13-year cut-off, so she shouldn't have been looking at it when she was 6. You have to also ask, I'm afraid, did her parents not realise what was going on here, and where was the parental responsibility there to not allow her to spend... I think she said at one point she spent 17 hours on a platform, just constantly scrolling. And the complaint, the jury decided that these platforms are built to be addictive. But lots of things are built to be addictive. Where does this end? Does it mean those who produce alcoholic drinks are liable for alcoholism? I don't think that should be the case. Should people who make chocolate be liable for the fact that you get fat because you eat too much chocolate? I don't think so. I think this jury decision is an interesting one. I'm not sure if I'd been on the jury I'd have reached the same decision. I think personal responsibility and parental responsibility...
This is the trouble. We live increasingly in a blame game.
Yeah,
if something goes... And I'm not saying that social media is all well and good with this, because it isn't. No. But if something goes wrong, we want to blame someone, as long as it isn't us.
That's absolutely right. However, slightly take a different point of view. yes, as parents, we tell our children not to smoke and drink, but the more you tell them to do that, the more likely they are to go behind the bike shed or, you know, hide at the end of the garden and smoke and drink. If they think it's taboo, they're much more likely to do it. I also think that it is provable, as this case has shown, that these platforms are causing genuine harm. I've read that there are some British parents who are suing TikTok in the US after the death of 5 children, which was apparently, allegedly encouraged by users of TikTok. So that is an extraordinary figure, and it makes me quail as a parent just to think, oh my goodness me, what could our children be seeing on these platforms, and how horrific. And yes, I may sound like a nanny stater, but they need shielding from that.
Yeah. It is a problem, there's no doubt about it, and they are addictive. I think I'm a bit addicted.
All right, you two. Thank you very much. You are addictive.
Oh,
absolutely, yeah.
And we'll see you very soon.
We've loved your company this morning. Here's the weather.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning, welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. It will feel a little bit warmer today, still pretty chilly for the time of year. Some sunshine across eastern areas, but rain is on the way across the north and west. But a bright start to the day for many of us, in fact, and it should remain fairly dry through much of the day, particularly across the eastern half of the country. Quite a brisk northerly wind, though, still affecting eastern coasts. Meanwhile, across parts of Northern Ireland and Scotland, clouds starting to thicken this afternoon. A lot of low cloud around, some rain, some gusty winds as well. And still a pretty disappointing day temperature-wise compared to average for the time of year. But as I said, warmer than yesterday at least. Now that rain continues across parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland into tonight. You can see the wind strengthening around the weather front that's moving in, so perhaps some gusty winds for a period of time to come this evening. Where skies remain clear across more eastern areas, it will be a pretty chilly evening, but across parts of Northern Ireland and parts of North Wales as well, lots of cloud moving in for the night. So it will be a milder night tonight for these areas compared to last night, in fact. Across eastern areas, it remains dry, at least for the first part of the night, but the cloud does continue to thicken from the north and west. Now, once that rain clears the far northwest of Scotland, it will turn colder once again, so clearer skies, pushing in a blustery start to the day across these areas, but for many of us, a cloudy and damp start to Friday. Across the southeast, we could see a touch of frost in any rural areas where it's a clear night. Now, as the cloud and rain continues to push southeastwards through Friday, it will turn wetter from the south and east. Meanwhile, it turns brighter across more northwestern areas, so a bit of a split picture to come on Friday, but further wintry showers will push in from the north and west, and it will turn much colder again to start the weekend. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for making GB News Radio such a huge success. Whether you're in the car, on the go, or listening at home, thank you for choosing us as your radio station.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The M9 is restricted both ways between Junction 2 and Junction 3 after a road traffic incident. On the M4 eastbound at Junction 33 by Capel-Lanilturn, expect congestion on the exit slip. In Sandwell, the M5 southbound at Junction 1 is shut following an overturned vehicle, with delays of around 1 hour. In Devon, the A38 westbound between the M5 and the A382 has a broken down vehicle blocking one lane. And on the trains, buses replace services between Stafford and Wolverhampton, with delays also between Doncaster and Sheffield. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
It's It's a prize package worth over £92,000. There's a totally tax-free £25,000 in cash that you'll be able to spend on anything you like this year. Plus, you'll also get to drive away in a brand new Benivan 122 camper van. Courtesy of Marquis Leisure, this latest 2026 model comes fully loaded with everything you'd expect. For another chance to win a camper van and cash, text prize to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB20 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of May. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. The Armed Forces Minister Al Khan's warns against entering the Iran war.
A vision without a plan is a dream, and we've got to be careful of embarking on nightmares. And so careful consideration before we get involved in stuff needs to be taken before we drag this country into a war or indeed an engagement where we just don't know where it's going to go.
Well, it comes as President Trump promises to unleash hell on Iran if they do not agree to his peace deal.
Well, with global oil prices on the up, is it time the government did more to help working families? We spoke to the Shadow Business Secretary, Andrew Griffith.
The one thing that we could do is start to unleash our natural energy resources. He's the Prime Minister. He could summon Parliament this Saturday, give all of the approvals that are needed to start unleashing our natural energy resources.
Unfortunately, there are thefts like this. It was stolen, it was reported at the time, and the police have acknowledged and confirmed that that is what happened.
That's the Prime Minister responding to allegations that Number 10 never tried to find the Prime Minister's former Chief of Staff, Morgan McSweeney's stolen phone.
What happened to Morgan's phone? It may not matter. I can reveal that all these phones have the auto-delete function already on for messages. There may be nothing on there from Peter Mandelson.
The government gives British forces the green light to board Russian tankers entering UK waters.
Giving permission for the UK to intercept Shadow Fleet, Russian Shadow Fleet ships. These are ships that are unlawfully breaching sanctions, usually with oil, and we'll be working with others on that project.
Is this social media's tobacco moment? A historic ruling against Meta and Google could change the social media world for good. Stay tuned for all of the details.
Good morning. It is a little bit warmer out there today, but will it get any warmer into the weekend? Well, I'll have all the details for you a little later on.
It's just gone 9 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Right, should we start with this phone scandal?
I think we should.
I mean, there's so much going on today, and it's a slight change of tone from the last hour, but nevertheless, it's this weird thing that doesn't quite smell right, because the Metropolitan Police have suggested Downing Street made no effort to recover Morgan McSweeney's phone. Now, he is the former Chief of Staff to the Prime Minister.
Well, the theft just sparked political intrigue, with messages between Morgan McSweeney and the former US Ambassador, Lord Mandelson, reportedly lost along with the device.
And, of course, all the investigation into this is wanting to see messages from people who knew Lord Mandelson. Let's talk to our political editor, Christopher Hope. Good morning.
Good morning, you two.
It's one of those things. I mean, look, the Prime Minister effectively saying it's a conspiracy theory. The phone was stolen, and that's it. Bob's your uncle.
It's a Westminster mystery, which, given how sad the world is with the world events, it's quite fun to think about. What happened with this phone? The Met Police released a 999 phone call that Morgan McSweeney made yesterday. His phone was swiped in Westminster, but he gave a slightly wrong name of the road, which is actually a road 5 miles away in East London. So the cops would have looked at the wrong part of London had they looked at CCTV, which we don't think they did. The next day, Morgan McSweeney didn't pick up the phone twice to the Met Police phoning. Why not? We are told by reporting that he called number 10 straight away, and the phone was frozen straight away, so no secrets got off it by the thief, and then he called the police. He seemed, didn't seem that bothered by the actual loss of the device. It wasn't his device, it was a work phone, and there was no financial apps on it, so maybe that's why he didn't really mind so much, but it's obsessing Westminster. I was in touch last night with him, asking him was it convenient that the phone was stolen, and why didn't you convey the seriousness on your phone call? Do you want to comment?
Yeah.
No, I don't, he says to me. But there's also a new twist this morning. I've dug out some old answers in Parliament. Back in, I think it was in February, an MP called Mike Wood asked the government whether number 10 special advisors, of which Morgan McSweeney was one, have what's called auto-delete functionality on their phones. What that means is you can set your phone up to delete messages after a week or a day or so. Nick Thomas-Symonds, who's the Minister in charge, says all corporate communications have auto-delete functionality enabled because everyone's chasing the phone because they think it might have something about Peter Mandelson and his appointment as the ambassador on. If that's been wiped, it may not matter at all.
But you would think that it would be really important to have these conversations on record for instances like this where we need to look back at
Ellie,
exactly what happened.
That's right, and it's incumbent on special advisors to, they say here, copy any messages onto the official systems. But you know how busy life is. You may feel you don't want to necessarily save these messages, and they may not have been saved at all. But it's incumbent on these SPADs, as they're called, to save the messages and put them onto the official record.
But what about, then, his personal phone? If this was the work phone, what's going on with his personal phone? Because there could well be messages on that. Has that been handed over for analysis?
I don't know that. This is great. You should be like Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Steve, you're all over where the evidence base might be. We don't know that yet. We may be, may not be. I do know that right now people in Whitehall are redacting, putting black lines over various WhatsApp messages. We're expecting the volume 2 of this release, and it could go on for many more volumes to be shortly after Easter break.
I mean, the problem with all this is, and look, I know people watching and listening might not like it, but the reality is, as you say, this probably doesn't matter because, for whatever reason, the messages would have been auto-deleted anyway, so they're gone. They're just gone.
But they might be on Peter Mandelson's phone. They could be elsewhere.
Oh, yeah, they could be on Peter Mandelson's phone. But the point is, just a headline like this and the fact that it allows conspiracy theory, it doesn't smell quite right.
No.
Is bad news for the Prime Minister. It's just another straw on the camel's back.
And the PM's been asked about that already. He's on a visit to Helsinki for a military conference, and he says nothing to see here. But he's been challenged now about it by reporters overseas.
But even Wes Streeting admitting yesterday that it doesn't look good.
No. Well, it just throws up more questions than it answers. And I think this is because the reason why it matters to viewers and listeners, by the way, is because it goes back to the appointment of Peter Mandelson. Who did it? Why did the PM allow it? The PM's voice is completely silent in 140 pages of documents released so far. He didn't sign anything off. We didn't know what he thought or anything, and we want to see WhatsApps. Not, as you know, I mean, there's intemperate messages you send me at night time, Ellie, when you're really angry. I mean, those are really dangerous things to be seen publicly. I'm joking, of course, but I am joking. But I'm joking. But the point is, people say things in a fit of peak, don't it, sometimes, and that can really matter and can be quite damaging in future.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm joking now, Ben.
Don't worry.
I had a really important question to ask you there, Chris, and I've entirely forgotten what it is.
Well, I was going to say, actually, I think it is really important to reflect, isn't it, that in Westminster, when you saw this with the COVID inquiry, so much political work and conversations in Westminster are done over WhatsApp.
Yes, all the time.
You think it would be email, but it's not, it's WhatsApp.
And people they just WhatsApp in hurry, and then they don't really expect to be seeing them laid out like in a courtroom setting. We saw that with Matt Hancock's emails leaked to the Telegraph. We saw that at the beginning of the COVID inquiry with those WhatsApps.
No wonder they set auto-delete on it.
Well,
don't blame them, frankly, as far as that goes. All right, Chris, thanks very much indeed.
Thank you. Now, just moments ago, we spoke to Al Carnes, who is, of course, the Armed Forces Minister.
Here's what he had to say about whether Britain should have joined the war against Iran.
A vision without a plan is a dream, and we've got to be careful of embarking on nightmares. And so careful consideration before we get involved in stuff needs to be taken before we drag this country into a war or indeed an engagement where we just don't know where it's going to go.
Well, he also responded to news that Keir Starmer has allowed British forces to enter Russian Shadow Fleet vessels in UK waters.
Well, let's talk to military expert and author of The New Total War, Bob Seeley. Bob, good to see you. I don't know if you could catch what the Minister was saying there, but, I mean, do you agree with his sort of angle on this?
Good morning. Al is one of the best ministers, and I had the privilege of coming across him in his previous military career. And there are few people of his quality in this government. Having said that, I don't agree with what he said. There were three choices at the beginning. You go all the way and back the Americans and the Israelis, and I'm not saying we should have done that. Or two, you did what the government did, which was prevaricate and dither, and then play the anti-Trump, anti-American card in a sort of really crude bit of domestic politics here. Or you do the sort of Goldilocks option, which is you say, no, we're not going to join the offensive attacks. We're not going to bomb Iran directly, but we'll get extra ships, extra people, extra kit, extra planes out to the Middle East. We will work with our close allies. The Gulf is our fourth biggest trading partner. They were part of the sort of British colonial structure once upon a time. We have incredibly close relations with Kuwait, with Bahrain, with Qatar, with the UEA, with Oman, especially. We've got great relationships with all these people. And by saying, Lord Hermer doesn't like it, we've really damaged these relationships. And this has been a bit of a mini Suez. All our friends in the Gulf say, you weren't there. You didn't hold our hands. You didn't have a spare ship. We don't expect you to be like America, but actually you didn't behave like Britain should. So the government has really messed this up. But in the whole sort of anti-Trump leftism, that has been somewhat buried. But it's a disgrace.
Well, linking on from that, the front page of the Eye this morning reflecting that the Royal Navy has been forced to borrow a warship from Germany. We've essentially run out of ships. Britain unable to meet NATO commitments next month. So the former head of the Navy, Lord West, is saying that all of the cuts have come home to roost. Now, we put that to Al Carnes this morning, who agreed with the sentiment that this is cuts that have gone back 20 years, but also said that it's good to rely on an ally, which is Germany in this instance. What do you make of that?
It's great to rely on allies, but one shouldn't have to rely on allies. And if you want to do leadership, especially with the joint expeditionary force countries, I'm not talking about Germany here, but all the Scandinavians, especially when it comes to NATO, actually you need to show leadership. And leadership is not begging other people's kit, as Al well knows, with great respect to him. This is not 20 years. This all goes back to 1997. The Tories did not do enough. And I'm not saying, it was great with the Tories, because it wasn't. But the only time in the last 30 years plus that frigates have been ordered was under Conservatives. Jeff Hoon cut the destroyers from 12 to 8, and then they reduced further to 6. And Labour, when in power, didn't order any new frigates. And actually, you talk about Ellie, you talk about stuff coming home to roost. It's not just in defence, but in power as well. What did Labour do from 97 to 2010? They didn't build a single nuclear power plant. And we know in this country how long it takes to get planning done. It takes 15 to 20 years to build nuclear power. And the reason why we don't have new nuclear now is because we had a government that said no to nuclear, and then the coalition under the Lib Dems did the same. So whether it's defence, whether it's nuclear, the bad decisions made in the last 30 years are now hitting us in terms of power supply, in terms of energy security, and in terms of defence as well. Sad to say.
Yeah. What's the best time to plant a tree? 10 years ago?
Yeah, 50, 60 years ago. Yeah, I mean, you're right.
Yeah. All right, Bob, good to see you. Thanks very much indeed.
Thanks, Bob. Now at 12 minutes past 9, just time to tell you about the Great British Giveaway now, and it truly is great, isn't it? Worth £92,000.
Truly is well remembered. It's a camper van, a brilliant camper van, plus 25 grand in cash. Here are the details.
It's a prize package worth over £92,000 and it could be all yours in our very latest Great British Giveaway. There's a totally tax-free £25,000 in cash that you'll be able to spend on anything you like this year. Plus, you'll also get to drive away in a brand new Benevan 122 camper van. Courtesy of Marquis Leisure, this latest 2026 model comes fully loaded with everything you'd expect. You can even drive it on your existing driving licence. Plus, it comfortably sleeps 4 people. Make sure you don't miss out on the biggest prize package of the year so far. For another chance to win a camper van and cash, text PRIZE to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB20 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of May. The winner may be contacted live after all entry routes have closed. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yes, good luck.
Now, still to come, Facebook and Meta have lost a landmark social media trial about addiction. So what's it going to mean for social media? We shall try to find out in a moment.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Every week there are stories that shape the national conversation.
Well, to be discussing that.
And on Saturday Morning Live, we break them down.
Is that true? This is fascinating, isn't it?
The politics, the headlines, the debates everyone's talking about.
And the questions that you want answered.
Do you think that was a legitimate attack for him to make?
What led you to set up this fantastic movement?
You know what? It's a great question, Olivia.
So what are you waiting for?
Your weekend starts here. Saturdays at 10 a.m, only on GB News.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun. No, he didn't say that, though. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain,
with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Now, a Los Angeles jury handed down an unprecedented win for a young woman who sued Meta and Google over a childhood addiction to social media.
Well, the companies were found guilty of intentionally building addictive social media platforms that harmed the 20-year-old's mental health.
Well, let's talk to a mental health professional to do with safer screens, Dr. Sanjeev Nichani. Good to see you this morning. I mean, it's a complex case in a way. Is this a ruling that is worth standing in the sense that, you know, we don't, as one of our guests said earlier on, you don't blame the alcohol companies, you don't sue them if you get addicted to alcohol?
Well, I completely disagree with your earlier guest. This is a landmark ruling. I'm utterly and totally delighted, as are many of my colleagues and health professionals for Safer Screens, and indeed millions of people around the country and the world. This is the beginning of the fight back to reclaim childhood as we know it. And this is the beginning of the fight back to take control over the smartphones and the toxic and poisonous anti-social media apps that have poisoned our children for the last 15 years. This, along with the $375 million fine imposed on Meta and Google, is wonderful news. And the third bit of good news, I hope the government sits up and take notice, is that the Lords passed the bill again, recommending a ban on social media in under 16. So I'm absolutely delighted that so many people around the country are.
Well, Doctor, this could also be the start of an avalanche of cases, couldn't it? I was reading this morning, I think there's 160 pending cases in the state of California alone who want to bring cases like this based on addiction to social media. And that's just one state in America. There'll be many more around the world.
There are many more around the world, we know that. And again, if there's an avalanche, in my opinion and the opinion of many of my colleagues, that's exactly what the big tech companies deserve. They have prioritized profit over people. They have ruined the childhood and adolescence of millions of teenagers and children around the world, and this must stop. And this is a great day in the beginning of this fight back.
But isn't it? Look, what about personal responsibility? I mean, the claimant in this particular case apparently was using it from when she was 6, which she shouldn't have been doing by anyone's guidelines at that stage. And it's one thing for us, which I frankly quite agree with, the idea of taking it all off children till they're 16. But it's another thing to say, well, if this happens, that it's nothing to do with the parents, it's nothing to do with the child's own behaviour. There's got to be a balance somewhere. We can't just point the finger at the companies that make it, can we?
I'm afraid the professionals do, and I do as well. And the reason for that is quite simple. Childhood and adolescence is the most vulnerable period in human beings. And to expose them to addictive algorithms with dopamine hits is completely and utterly immoral and unacceptable. It's not a fair fight to accept parents to have a battle against what big tech companies are reeling out on a daily basis. It's not going to work. And because so far they have refused to take responsibility for what they have created and the damage it has caused our children and young people, not just in America and the UK, but across the world, I think it's deserved, and I think we need to push forward. And I hope, as I said, there's an ongoing avalanche of cases. This will only get worse for them.
OK, Dr. Sanjeev Nichani, thank you for joining us this morning on GB News Breakfast.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Well, it's a strong view. I mean, I don't know that I disagree with him.
Yeah,
I mean, I certainly think kids under the age of 16 should not be getting their hands on smartphones and social media.
I completely agree with that. I think it's interesting moving forward, though. This is all based on a letter from Mark Zuckerberg, who was the boss of Facebook, now Meta, saying that he wanted people to be on his platforms for as long as possible. You can understand why he'd want that. But is that asking for children to be addicted? That's the question, isn't it? What's that going to mean going forward?
See what Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates make of it all. Morning, you two.
Good morning.
Morning.
Nice to see you.
What do you think of all? I mean, I know we don't want our kids on it, but do we blame the big companies?
Yeah,
yes.
I do. 100%.
Oh, well, there you go.
100%.
I think it's just this is their tobacco moment.
Yeah.
And we know from various leaked emails that they absolutely knew that children were on this platform. They knew they were being sexually exploited on the platform. I think we're seeing it through the wrong lens. We're seeing this through the lens of this is a social behaviour that parents should regulate. It's not, it's a product. It's a product that needs regulating, just like tobacco and alcohol. And nobody's saying adults can't go on it. But if it's an unsafe product for children, then it should not be available.
See, what
for
I'm
children.
intrigued by with this, and so I'm not saying I disagree with you at all, but it's you have a different perspective to our two paper guests this morning.
Sure.
We're sort of saying...
Do they have teenage children by any chance?
I don't know. But you're sort of saying...
older children.
Why blame the manufacturer for something which parents should have had a hand in?
Well, would you say then alcohol, heroin should all be freely available to all children from birth, and it's up to parents to stop them taking it? That's the argument.
Parents can't be on the child the whole time. It's just not possible. Really. There was a really significant vote in the House of Lords last night, again, because there is a real push to ban this social media stuff from our
Oh, yeah, ban it outright, I say.
But Labour will oppose it, I'm sure they will. And we're talking about who runs the country.
Who runs the country? Is it Ed Miliband? Seems so. That's what Keir Starmer thinks.
Climate Change Secretary. He decides whether they should be drilling in the North Sea. Nothing to do with our Prime Minister. Weak.
We're not, though.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning, welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. It will feel a little bit warmer today, still pretty chilly for the time of year. Some sunshine across eastern areas, but rain is on the way across the north and west. But a bright start to the day for many of us, in fact, and it should remain fairly dry through much of the day, particularly across the eastern half of the country. Quite a brisk northerly wind, though, still affecting eastern coasts. Meanwhile, across parts of Northern Ireland and Scotland, clouds starting to thicken this afternoon. A lot of low cloud around, some rain, some gusty winds as well. And still a pretty disappointing day temperature-wise compared to average for the time of year. But as I said, warmer than yesterday at least. Now that rain continues across parts of Scotland, Northern Ireland into tonight. You can see the wind strengthening around the weather front that's moving in, so perhaps some gusty winds for a period of time to come this evening. Where skies remain clear across more eastern areas, it will be a pretty chilly evening, but across parts of Northern Ireland and parts of North Wales as well, lots of cloud moving in for the night. So it will be a milder night tonight for these areas compared to last night, in fact. Across eastern areas, it remains dry, at least through the first part of the night, but the cloud does continue to thicken from the north and west. Now, once that rain clears the far northwest of Scotland, it will turn colder once again, so clearer skies pushing in a blustery start to the day across these areas, but for many of us, a cloudy and damp start to Friday. Across the southeast, we could see a touch of frost in any rural areas where it's a clear night. Now, as the cloud and rain continues to push southeastwards through Friday, it will turn wetter from the south and east. Meanwhile, it turns brighter across more northwestern areas, so a bit of a split picture to come on Friday, but further wintry showers will push in from the north and west, and it will turn much colder again to start the weekend. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for the thousands of you who are becoming friends of GB News each and every week.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. On the M9 eastbound, partial blockages are approaching Junction 3 after a road incident. The M4 eastbound is congested on the off-slip at Junction 33 near Capel-Lanilturn. In the West Midlands, the M6 southbound between Junctions 10 and 8 is slow with 40-minute delays. Devon drivers on the A38 westbound between the M5 and the A382 have a lane closed for a broken-down vehicle. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast and Cross Country have buses between Stafford and Wolverhampton, plus delays between Doncaster and Sheffield. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
What have you been up to? What have you seen?
Well, I've got something first that I'm wondering how many times you had to say in your career, Michael.
Sorry, Prime Minister.
Yes, I'm sorry,
Prime Minister.
I am sorry,
Yes, I
Prime
probably
Minister.
did say it a few times. So, So this is, what, an adaptation of Yes, Prime Minister?
So this is the very, 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 very last chapter. So the two writers of this, Anthony Jay and Jonathan Lynn. Jonathan Lynn is still writing. The TV show ran in the 80s. Yes, Minister, Yes, Prime Minister. We've had a couple of plays and a large gap. Now we've got I'm Sorry, Prime Minister. This is the end of the sort of end of the line, very end of life. No one's dying, but it's Jim Hacker, the wonderfully inept, pompous, self-serving MP who became Prime Minister. He's now become master of an Oxford college in his own name that he's established with some very dodgy foreign money, but it allows him to stay there forever as master, or so he thought. However, he's carried on speaking and thinking without thought, and in our modern days, the college wants to get rid of him. So there's been a huge backlash against things he said about women, about minorities, about situations. Yeah. So all these themes come in, and then obviously Sir Humphrey, which you would know from the civil service, was his permanent secretary, who was the one that was always bamboozling him with those fantastically long, complicated explanations of things. That was Nigel Hawthorne and the wonderful in the original cast. This time we've got Griff Rhys-Jones playing Jim Hacker. For me, it's very different. It's a little bit broader, very entertaining. The show has always been funny, which is fine. This time they're bringing in cancellation. Should we judge art, themes, thoughts from the past by our modern standards? Also, for me, I found much more beautiful. It's about ageing. This is about people that were masters of their universe. They were kings of their castle.
GB News, the People's Channel.
All too often, people will be sitting at home watching a press conference live, and they'll hear loads of questions being asked, and they'll be thinking, that's not my question. That's not my concern.
We don't care whose feathers we ruffle. We ask the questions that you want answering.
You're all standing on the street protesting and want to have an open discussion.
My name's Patrick Christie's. I do a show for GB News in the UK. Is it possible to talk to you quickly?
Journalism in this country has been a cosy world full of groupthink until now.
Well, this is the best view ever of Whitehall, looking out across all the tractor drivers of England who've come together to make their point.
Hello, so as you can see, I'm here in Westminster as the protest begins.
Yes, I'm very much in the thick of it.
Look, we're challenging narratives here at GB News, and that's what sets us apart.
Good morning, it's 9:30 on Thursday the 26th of March, live across the UK, Britain's newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
Well, who exactly is running the country? Is it the Prime Minister or is it certain members of his cabinet?
Will the Prime Minister approve the licences for Rosebank and Jackdaw gas fields in the North Sea?
Well, the energy decision has been deferred because Sir Keir Starmer says Ed Miliband alone will decide whether the UK approves North Sea oil, gas and drilling.
That's right. Who's in charge of this government, Ed Miliband or Sir Keir Starmer?
There are so many families who've been tragically hurt through the addiction of social media.
Well, this is a huge story.